Good evening, everyone. Regular meeting of the Salem City Council is being held in person tonight, Thursday, December 4th, 2025, at 7 p.m. for the purpose of transacting any and all business. Notice of this meeting was posted on December 2nd, 2025 at 3:29 p.m. This meeting is being recorded and is live on SATV and Zoom unless technological issues interrupt the transmission. Councilors absent is Councilor Girzolo and Councilor Davis. Councilor Hapworth has moved to dispense the reading of the previous meeting. All those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. I now request that everyone please rise to recite the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilor Varela.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Salem City Council honors that this land is Nomkeg, or fishing place, where generations of Nomkeg people from the Pawtucket Band of the Massachusetts tribe lived and passed through for centuries. We acknowledge that this is unceded indigenous land and also acknowledge the Massachusetts tribe who continue to honor and hold this land into the present. Salem City Council is committed to having ongoing meaningful dialogue with the indigenous peoples who have presence in Salem in order to dismantle the legacies of oppression and inequities that persist today. Public testimony. Public testimony is not to exceed 15 minutes. Public testimony is not a public hearing or question and answer period. Sign-up must occur 30 minutes prior to the meeting. The president shall, depending on the number of speakers, set a time limit not to exceed 3 minutes, with each individual presenting testimony must abide. Tonight, we have 6 people signed up for public testimony, so it'll be about 2 minutes and 45 seconds per person, just under 3 minutes. And first in order would be Mr. Robert Callahan.
Good evening. My name is Robert Callahan, 8 Stearns Place, Salem, representing the Salem Retirement Board. Also, I'm a retired Salem police captain. I'm here to voice my support and the Salem Retirement Board's unanimous support for the home rule petition put in by the police and fire unions on behalf of 17 police officers and firefighters that were impacted negatively by a court decision which changed the law concerning getting back time as reserve officers. All of these officers, when they were hired in good faith, saw that they were going to be able to get their reserve time. The reserve time didn't last a long time. It has no impact on the monies in the retirement board that have been put aside. We're still going to be fully funded by 2032. Has already been included in our actuarials. And I believe that you would be doing the police officers and fire department members a good service by voting tonight to allow them to continue their pursuit of this in a home rule petition with the state government. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up, Mr. Paul Finland.
Thank you, President Prosnowski and the honorable members of the council. I too am here on behalf of the Salem Retirement Board. I serve as their executive director. And as indicated in the letter that was submitted to the council, the board's interest in this home rule petition is to protect service that was previously awarded, as Mr. Callahan said, in good faith and in recognition of the reserve officers and reserve firefighters' commitment to serving the citizens of Salem. And so, as said in the letter, this was a court decision that resulted in the loss of previously credited service. And we feel, and the board feels, that that Supreme Judicial Court's decision did undermine the spirit that was initially intended with the passage of Section 42B of Chapter 32, which did intend to award this service in recognition of that commitment as a reserve police officer and firefighter, making that commitment to public safety, sometimes at the risk of personal sacrifice. And we feel that it would be the right thing to honor the board's award of that service and also the recognition of the importance of that service. We have seen a similar petition passed on behalf of the reserve police officers and firefighters of the city of Revere, and we followed a very similar process by which we did, my understanding is that the unions had an actuarial analysis performed, which was provided to you all. As Mr. Callahan mentioned, those costs are already included in the board's funding schedule, so they have been accounted for in the board's pension liability. So the passage of this petition would not result in any new additional costs to the retirement board, as these have already been accounted for. And therefore, we, as mentioned in the letter, the board is respectfully asking the City Council to approve the petition and restore this previously awarded service. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Flora Tontat.
Hi, I just want to make a comment on the City Seal. From the very start, the City Seal Task Force was harassed and doxxed online, yet some are asking why more characteristically reserved Asian residents are not speaking up about it. Aches were never consulted, never involved in any aspect of the SEAL's creation, yet some are calling for Ache opinions to be centered. A fuller, complicated, but forgotten history of violence and prejudice against Asians resurfaced through this process, yet history-loving folks completely ignore or minimize it. This is fundamentally about who belongs, who counts, and who gets to set the narratives in Salem. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go to Zoom land temporarily. Anna Nunzio. Anna, mute yourself.
My name is Ana Nuncio, and I'm president of the Latino Leadership Coalition. And first of all, I want to thank the City SEAL Task Force for asking for input from many, many civic groups in Salem regarding the proposed change of the City SEAL. We especially appreciated the opportunities afforded by the listening sessions and the chance to hear new information and the thinking of many scholars and fellow residents about this question. I support the North Shore Asian American Coalition's view that the time has come for the City SEAL to change. The most compelling reason to advocate for this change is the deeply problematic history of the Salem trade with Sumatra and other Asian nations and region. Despite hearing all the scholarly arguments about the culturally authentic elements in the clothing of the person depicted in the seal, what rings most true for many members of the LLC is that the image evokes and/or resembles other racist caricatures of Asian people, stereotypes that took root in the minds of the general United States population, most notably during and after Salem's era of trade with the Far East. The lived experiences of modern-day Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in the daily rub with majority culture in the United States matter. That experience resonates with the lived experiences of Latino Americans in the U.S. and other groups. Rather than enshrining the vision of an earlier generation who created Salem's legacy centered solely on its trade with Asia, why not center on the lived experiences of the Asian American people, diverse Asian American people, and others who call Salem home today? I hope the City Council will vote for the redesign of a city seal next January. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have in Zoom land, Mr. Paul Laffey. Go ahead, Mr. Laffey. Mr. Laffey, if you unmute yourself. And we lost Mr. Laffey. One more time. Hello, Mr. Laffey. Can you hear us? Okay. We will move on to the last speaker, Mr. Raymond Jersel.
How's everyone doing tonight? Good? Ready for the end of the year?
Mr. Jersel, you have to address the chair.
Sorry.
Only the chair. That would be me.
Sorry, sir. Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Ray Jerslow, 17 Bayview Ave, Salem, Mass. This photo shows Council Varela parked directly on a crosswalk while unloading supplies for his restaurant, blocking pedestrian access, undermining safety, and waving his commercial plates as if they grant him an exemption from the law. Councilors Cohen, Watson Felt, Hapworth, and Davis, last month you rejected a public safety measure for Blaney Street, dismissing it as a personal attack. Yet only weeks earlier, you supported a citywide right-on-red ban in the name of pedestrian safety. It seems that your commitment to public safety evaporates the moment it involves your colleague, Council Varela. If you're not willing to put safety first, you shouldn't be sitting in those seats. Now, Councilor Cohen, your actions raise even deeper concerns. In August of '24, you voted to remove Section A of the B1 zoning ordinance, the very provision that would have allowed B1 restaurants to serve alcohol. Less than a month later, on September 9th, Councilor Varela's business, Maitland Farm Kitchen and Spirits, secured a common particular license as a food-only establishment and opened in that October. Then this past January, you reintroduced the exact same zoning language that was removed just months earlier, and it passed with a majority vote. And what was the result? That change immediately cleared the path for Maitland Farm Kitchen and Spirits to obtain a full liquor license. When I contacted the State Ethics Commission, I was told the situation carries the appearance of unethical conduct. And appearance is not proof, but in government, appearances matter because they shape public trust, and until we get real answers, the appearance of impropriety will remain. And Council, tonight you'll be discussing the Planning Board's recommendation to issue one additional marijuana retail license, with the condition that it must go to a social equity or economic empowerment applicant. For those who may not be aware, Council Varela previously used a city community development block grant loan for his restaurant, Maitland Farm and Kitchen Spirits at 8486 Derby Street. This information appears on page 2 of the Zoning Board of Appeals decision dated June 5, 2025. If the council adopts this new cannabis license ordinance, will Council Varela's prior use of that grant be used by him or one of his employees as a form of social equity credential to qualify for this license? Only time will tell. Thank you.
That concludes public hearings. I'm sorry, I think we resurrected Mr. Laffey. So let's try Mr. Laffey with your public comment, go right ahead. You have just
Can you
under
hear
3
me now?
minutes.
Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Very good. So originally you said Paul Laffey. Paul's my brother. So I'm Phil Laffey, 143 Ford Avenue. I wanted to speak briefly on the marijuana license. I know it's probably just going to be received and filed. I'm not sure it's appropriate for Salem to have additional licenses. When I drive by these places, I don't necessarily see lines out the door. When listening to the retailers who are against it, these folks are contributing to Salem in a very good way. I think you're just going to further dilute these businesses. There's only so many people that are going to buy pot. And if you just keep on adding licenses, it's just going to spread that money out too thinly. These people don't have the same advantages as other businesses do for tax write-offs and such. I think it needs to be taken a real hard, long look at their finances, what they contribute to the community, and what detriment is going to bring to Salem. And while I still have a little bit of time, I'd like to speak about a possible upcoming special election or vote for a debt exclusion for the new high school. I really hope that all taxes, not just residential taxes, will be raised during this time period, and that the city council will be prevented through that vote for issuing any kind of tax incentives to any for-profit businesses in the form of TIFs, ties, and so forth. It's not fair to the residents for you to come to us with your handout looking for our money and not taking money from all places. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And I hope you all had a very good Thanksgiving.
Thank you. That concludes public hearings. Moving on, public comment, moving on to hearings. Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to go out of order to page 13 to take up the home rule petition for the retirement boards.
Seeing no objection, we move over to page 13.
We have an order for an act relative to the reserve time of public safety personnel in the city of Salem.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. Be enacted by the Senate and the House of Representatives in general court assembled and by the authority of the same as follows. Section 1.
Waive the reading.
Thank you. And I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Hapworth moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think you heard a lot of it here tonight, and Mr. Callahan did a great job with explaining it, but there was a court ruling from 2019. It said the reserve and on-call service for police and firefighters only counts towards retirement if the person earned at least $5,000 a year in those roles. Historically, that service had always counted, even though those positions rarely paid that much. Because of this ruling, 17 Salem employees would lose their retirement credit. They've already been given. The retirement board supports fixing this, but the only way to do this is through a home rule petition asking the legislature to let Salem keep that credit in place.
Any further discussion? Councilor Varela's motion to adopt this matter by roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Watson-Felt?
Yes.
Council Varela?
Yes.
Council Stott?
Yes.
Council Marcillo?
Yes.
Council Merkel?
Yes.
Council Harvey?
Yes.
Council Hapworth?
Yes.
Council Cohen?
Yes.
And Council Prosnewski.
Yes. On the matter of an act relative to reserve time of public safety personnel in the city of Salem, we have 10 yeas, 9 yeas, 2 absent. Matter carries. Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to go out of order again to page 4 and take up the National Grid petition to get Sabita out of here before we get into Mr. Cortez's.
Seeing no objection,
We have an order from National Grid to install conduits on Valley Street, starting at number 31 Valley Street.
Councilor Harvey.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, appearing in favor. Sabita?
Sabita Mahaber Sheehy, representing National Grid, 44 River Street, Beverly, Massachusetts. This is to extend a feeder to help with the load in Salem.
Anyone else appearing in favor? Anyone in the audience in opposition? Councilor Harvey.
Thank you, Council President.
We're going to close the public.
I move the public hearing be closed.
Councilor Harvey moves that the public hearing be closed. All those in favor? All those opposed? Public hearing is closed. Councilor Harvey.
Thank you, Council President. I move this be granted.
Councilor Harvey moves that it be granted. Under discussion.
No discussion.
Further discussion on the matter of granting National Grid conduits on Valley Street. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries.
Thank you.
Further hearings.
Happy holidays, Sabita. Mr. President.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to go slightly back out of order up to page 3 to take up the first hearing.
Councilor Harvey moves to go back in order, page 3, under hearings. Madam Clerk.
We have a public hearing on the issue of allocating the local property tax levy among the 4 property classes for the fiscal year '26 and the residential open space and small commercial exemption options.
Appearing in favor. President is Mr. Pangallo.
Yeah, the mayor's here, and James LeBlanc, and Stephen Cortez, the city director of assessor, and the board of assessors are here. Did the mayor want to speak first? Or?
Mr. Mayor, you're up first, then Mr. Assessor.
Thank you. Sorry, Stephen. I'll be brief because I think there's a lot of content to cover tonight. First, I want to say thanks to Stephen and the Board of Assessors, the Assessors Department staff, our Finance Director, and the whole Finance team. So tonight's vote is establishing how we'll pay for the cost of delivering the services that were outlined in the FY26 budget that this body approved in June. As in the past, fixed costs are one of the largest drivers of cost increases to the city, just as individuals and families are contending with rising costs for things like health insurance and energy, so is the city. So to meet these costs, the property tax currently remains the primary revenue source that municipalities are allowed by the state to utilize. State aid is helpful, but the rate at which state aid increased for Salem this year at 5% is not keeping pace with the rate at which our state assessments increased at nearly 7%. That means we must continue to find ways to reduce the pressure on existing property taxpayers with the tools we have available to us. One of those is receipts from city enterprises like the Witch House and the golf course. Those add up to almost $2 million this year, which is $2 million less that we need to collect in property taxes. We also look to new growth for help. New growth will bring in just over $1.8 million in new tax revenues this year, up 50% from last year's amount. There are tools not currently available to us that I want to use this opportunity to advocate for. We need legislative action to fix Chapter 70, the state formula for school funding, and to grant cities and towns more local control over the kinds of revenue tools we can use. Here in Salem, that means local options and mechanisms that would shift more of the cost share onto tourists and visitors and off of residents. There are currently 4 pieces of legislation before the Massachusetts House and Senate that together would generate over $16 million in revenue for Salem and shift the city away from needing to rely as heavily on property taxes. I urge the legislature to act favorably and expediently on these measures. Here in Salem, we've successfully managed municipal finances with attention to both the needs of today and our goals for the future, to be a safe, affordable, and forward-looking community. The validation of that is apparent from the reaffirmation by S&P Global of our strong bond rating earlier this year, which we're leveraging in today's council filings with a debt refinancing order that would further save taxpayers' money. It's also apparent from the regular recognition of our budget and financial statements by the Government Finance Officers Association, a national fiscal watchdog agency. Today, Salem is strategically and resiliently positioned for success, with strong growth, record bond ratings, and award-winning balanced budgets. I hope our residents are rightly proud that we've continued that professionalism and financial management that Salem has become known for, that our fiscal policies are of the highest standard, and that the path that we have set for ourselves is the correct one for our community. And I am grateful for the council's collaboration that makes this healthy fiscal foundation possible for the city we all love. I especially want to thank the departing councilors for your partnership in this important work over the years. Your service and commitment to Salem have made our city a better place for all. Thank you very much.
Mr. Cortez.
Good evening, council members. I would like to start by introducing myself and the assessing team and give a brief explanation of some of the assessing department duties throughout the year which brought us here. Stephen Cortez, the Director of Assessing. Tonight we have two of our board members in attendance, Bob Millerick and Tina Zolano, along with two assistant assessors, Jim Bond and Jim Hall. We operate on a fiscal year which runs from July 1st to June 30th. Throughout the year, we have conducted about 1,400 property inspections for reasons such as recent building permitted work, sales and DOR mandated cyclical inspection program, which is an attempt to inspect every property on a 9 to 10 year basis. Within that amount of time, things can change or grow depending on maintenance and or depreciation. We also gather information about the different classes of property by utilizing our sales verification forms, building permit reports, income and expense forms, and personal property form of list. In addition to this ongoing work, this year is a full revaluation or recertification year. A revaluation year is far more extensive than the typical interim adjustment. In an interim year, we generally trend existing values based on market movement. In a revaluation year, however, we are required to review and recalibrate our valuation models for every class of property. This involves a complete reanalysis of all valid sales within the required timeframe, a full review of land valuations, cost tables, and depreciation schedules, and an in-depth evaluation of income and expense data to update the models we use for commercial and industrial property. Personal property accounts are also reviewed in detail to ensure accuracy and compliance. Revaluation years also require formal statistical testing to confirm that assessments are both accurate and equitable across all property types. These tests include the assessment to sales ratio studies and measures of uniformity that must fall within the strict performance standards. The Department of Revenue conducts a comprehensive multi-step review of our methodology, our data, our valuation procedures, and our statistical outcomes. That full review has been completed, and the Department of Revenue has approved and certified our values as representing full and fair cash value as of January 1. The information presented to you tonight reflects the result of full revaluation process. It represents a thorough data-driven snapshot of Salem's real estate market, supported by thousands of data points and validated through state oversight. While the packet contains a lot of information, I'll focus on the key points as we move through the slides. My hope is that the details will offer valuable context to a broader understanding. Page 2, tax classification. The purpose of the classification is to provide the City Council with the necessary information to make policy decisions in accordance with Chapter 40, Section 56 of Mass General Law, as amended by Chapters 200 of Acts 1988. This law allows cities and towns to shift the tax burden among major property classes within certain legal limits. The residential factor determines the percentage of the tax levy assigned by the residential class, with the remainder shifted to the commercial, industrial, and personal property, or CIP class. The minimum residential factor established by the Commissioner of Revenue is used to make sure that the shift of the tax burden complies with the Classification Act. For fiscal year 26, it is recommended that the City Council adopt a minimum residential factor of 0.861738 for the City of Salem. The council must also vote on 3 other tax policy options: open space discount, residential exemption, and small commercial exemption. Again, the assessments have already been approved by the Department of Revenue. The statistical data presented herein is intended to assist the council in its recommended decisions and the tax rate shift in the 3 options I mentioned. Page 3, key terms. Here are some key terms that you will see in the presentation. The levy, which is the property tax levy, is the revenue a community can raise through real and personal property taxes. Levy limit, the maximum amount a community can levy each year, equal to last year's levy plus 2.5%, plus new growth, plus any debt exclusion or override if applicable. Levy ceiling, the maximum amount the levy can be in a given fiscal year, equal to 2.5% of the total full and fair cash value of all taxable real and personal property in the community. The levy limit is equal to the lesser of the two. New growth, increase in the tax base due to new construction, parcel subdivisions, condo conversions, and property renovations, but not due to market revaluation. It is calculated by multiplying the increased assessed value by the prior year's tax rate for the property class, and then the excess levy capacity. This is the difference between the actual levy and the levy limit, what a community is legally permitted to build and the tax bills to be paid. Page 4, city overview. The first pie chart on the left shows the breakdown of the city's parcel by major property class as a percentage. Residential makes up the majority with 88%, followed by personal property with 6%, commercial at 5%, and industrial at 1%. The chart on the right represents a breakdown of all real property, which does not include personal property accounts, and shows a more in-depth view of the classes with parcel counts and their percentages of the citywide total, which is 13,438 parcels. Page 5, analysis. The fiscal year 26 values are based on the value of property as of January 1st, 2025, and were primarily developed from valid arm's length sales from calendar year 24, which do not include foreclosure, family sales, estate sales, etc., personal property forms of list, and income and expense forms for commercial and industrial mixed-use and apartments with 4 or more units. Under the guidelines of the Department of Revenue and Massachusetts general laws, assessors are required to assess property at 100% full and fair cash valuation. This means all assessed values must reflect the market, i.e., what properties are selling for. Size, type, year built, and quality of construction, number of rooms, kitchens and baths, fireplaces, types of heating systems, etc., are all examples of data listed on individual property record cards before the valuation process can begin. Assessors may not have to go inside each property before every revaluation if records are kept up to date and building permits are checked and recorded for changes on individual properties. Finding the full and fair cash value or market value of a property involves discovering what similar properties are selling for and what property would cost what the property would cost today to replace, and what financial factors such as interest rates may be affecting the real estate market. Valuation techniques for commercial and industrial properties also include analysis from an investment point of view, since the purchase price the buyer is willing to pay depends on part of the return they expect to receive. Like property is extrapolated and compared within the class or apples to apples. Sales in calendar 2024, which were used to determine 26 values. There were 475 sales utilized, including 2 years of sales for commercial, mixed-use, industrial, land, and MISC. 131 single-family sales, 250 residential condo sales, 68 multifamily sales, 21 commercial and industrial sales, and 5 other sales. We have 42 more sales than the prior year, or 10%, specifically with single-family and residential condos. Page 6, analysis adjustments. The market analysis and adjustments resulted in the following general adjustments made. Single-family properties increased in value by 11.7%. Residential condos increased in value by 5.8%. Two-family properties increased in value by 11.9%. Three-family properties increased in value by 10.8%. Apartment buildings with 4 or more increased by 11.1%. Personal property accounts increased in value by 4.2%. Industrial properties increased in value by 5.6%, and commercial properties increased in value by 6.4%. We analyzed arm's length sales from calendar year 24, except for commercial, industrial, land, and mixed-use properties, where the review period extended from July 23 to June 25. While interest rates came down slightly, home prices continue to rise compared to 2023. We're still seeing competitive offers and occasional overbidding, driven in part by ongoing post-pandemic trends, buyers moving out of higher-cost suburbs in search of stronger services, more stable tax bases, and a modest increase in available listings and new construction. Last year, apartment buildings with 4 or more units showed the largest increase in value at 15.7%. This year, that growth was more in line with the single-family, two-family, and three-family homes, with two families showing the highest overall increase. It is important to note that most of our new construction continues to be multifamily large apartment complexes, which push those averages upward. Residential condos rose by 5.8%, the same rate as last year. That's consistent with the ongoing condo conversions, which added 41 new parcels, which is nearly double the gain seen in the next largest class of the single families. A contributed factor to slower condo appreciation may be the rising association fees linked to higher construction and maintenance costs, which can make condos less attractive compared to single-family homes or small multifamily property investments and conversions. Among all major land use classes, the commercial and industrial properties showed the smallest year-over-year increase in assessed value, rising only between 6.4% and 5.6%. By comparison, the residential parcels saw steadier appreciation and more consistent sales activity, while the commercial side remained relatively flat. That reflects the broader economic environment, fewer transactions, higher borrowing costs, and cautious investors. Most of Salem's new construction continues to be residential, and our commercial and industrial base is relatively small. Again, this year, we see a loss in the commercial properties with less than 9 parcels. Commercial lending rates around 7 to 8% have pushed capitalization rates higher, which in turn puts downward pressure on the property values. Office and small retail spaces are still adapting to remote work trends and changing consumer habits, especially more with people shopping online. Vacancy rates remain above pre-pandemic levels, and the rent growth has been modest. Industrial properties continue to experience growth demand, particularly from manufacturing and shipping needs, driving their values higher. Salem's limited supply further pushes the prices upwards for those seeking ownership in the city. However, the key factor contributing to the annual adjustment is due to the power plant agreement. To value these two class codes accurately, we rely on both sales income approach, ensuring our assessments reflect current market conditions as closely as possible. Personal property accounts increase annually primarily based on the utility accounts via appraisals and DOR reported values. It is important to note that these are overall statistical values for each major property class. Individual changes will vary depending on specific property data, the style, condition, upkeep, depreciation, new construction, location, amenities, etc. Overall, the city saw an increase in total value of $847,024,984, or 9%. Page 7, value comparison. This table is a comparison of last fiscal year's values, FY25 versus FY26. These values and the changes represent the entire class, not individual parcels. Highlighted in yellow are the major classes, with columns 3, 4, 5, and 6 representing the parcel count and assessed values, and the last 4 columns showing the differences between them. As shown on the last slide, the percentage difference in value is identified in the far right column. At the bottom, shaded in blue, are the major classes as a whole. When we get to some of these slides that are self-explanatory, I'm just going to go through them. Page 8, values by class. This table shows fiscal year 26 values by class. In the row titled Totals, you will find the values for each of the 4 major class codes, starting with Class 1 for residential. Salem does not have a Class 2 open space. Class 3 is commercial, and Class 4 is industrial. Personal property assessed totals are below that to the left, and the city's taxable value of $10,129,379,012 is at the bottom right. Page 9, percentage of value by class. Shown here are FY25 versus FY26 comparable displays. The residential class makes up 84.43% of the total city value. Commercial makes up 7.67%, industrial 4.71%, and personal property 3.18%. Again, the value difference from last year is 9%, or $847,024,984. The bar graph at the bottom illustrates a rebound in the sustained changes in value observed prior to the pandemic. It's worth noting that 2020 values were elevated due to the power plant coming online. Page 10, assessed value history. Here is a line graph showing the assessed value history from 1994 to 2026. You can see the dip when the recession happened, and the rebound after that affected the residential value and continues to climb. Page 11, new growth. Throughout the year, the assessing department reviews and captures new growth value, due mostly to new construction as well as parcels subject to taxation for the first time, such as subdivisions or condominium conversions, new personal property, and parcels that were previously exempt. It does not include value increases caused by normal market forces or revaluation. New growth is submitted to the Department of Revenue for review and certification. The City of Salem saw a total of $119,136,621 in new growth value. That included but was not limited to 41 new condo conversions, 3 new industrial parcels, 49 new personal property accounts, and large construction projects which include 266 Canal Street, or the former Bertini's, 16 Franklin Street, which is a 37-unit residential structure, 64 Grove Street, 40 Bridge Street, which is a Cove Motel, 160 Federal Street and 13 Hawthorne Boulevard, a 32 and 29 unit apartment building, 1 Leaford Terrace, and the single-family homes being constructed on Strongwater Drive. The DOR approved new growth values resulted in $1,834,812 tax dollars and allowable tax levy growth. This amount is used to calculate the levy limit for FY26. Page 12, new growth examples. This slide provides a sample of the growth properties mentioned, displayed by growth value rather than tax dollars. The viewers at home? Page 12. We have a USB that has it. You also have a PDF version.
Do we need to take a 2-minute recess?
Okay. The slide provide. Okay. Page 13, growth by class. Here is the fiscal year 26 new growth broken down into class and tax dollars. The first box is the residential breakdown showing the new growth value, the tax dollars from that growth, and the percentage that makes up the residential class. The top 10 FY26 residential growth properties make up 55% of the total residential growth value. The second box contains the commercial, industrial, and personal property growth value, tax dollars, percentage of the CIP total. As with most years, personal property accounts bring in substantial amount of new growth tax dollars due mostly to the utility and telecom accounts. The last box and graph represents the overall new growth totals. Page 14, historic growth. This bar graph represents the growth in tax dollars over the past decade started from 2016. Again, the year 2020 was higher due to the power plant construction. Salem is a very old city with most of its land being utilized. At this point, new growth comes down to property owners repurposing existing sites and reclassification. That slide is also a PDF, which you can bring up without the slide. Page 15, determining the tax levy and breakdown of the city budget. First, we start with the total budget and other articles approved by the City Council starting back in June 2025, which is $231,610,645. Then you minus state aid, local receipts, enterprise and CPA funds, and other revenues, and that will leave you with a tax levy or amount remaining to be collected from non-exempt or TIF-approved properties, which is $126,711,700. The pie chart to the right shows each as a percentage of the total budget. Page 16, the levy limit. This slide explains the levy limit. Proposition 2.5 limits the amount of revenue a community can raise through real and personal property taxes with the tax levy from year to year. The maximum amount a community can levy in any given year is called the levy limit. Under Proposition 2.5, a community's levy limit increases automatically by two factors. One, an incremental increase of 2.5% of the prior year's levy limit, and two, a dollar amount derived from the value of new construction, condo conversions, subdivisions, and other growth in the local tax base since the previous year or new growth. In addition to these automatic increases, a community may vote to raise the levy limit beyond what Proposition 2.5 allows. One way is through a debt exclusion, where voters agree to temporarily increase taxes to pay the principal and interest for specific capital projects, such as a new building. This additional amount is added to the levy for the life of the debt only. A community may also approve an operational override, which allows the levy limit itself to be permanently increased to support ongoing municipal or school operating expenses. Unlike the debt exclusion, an override becomes part of the levy limit going forward and raises the tax base on which future levy calculations are made. Together, the levy limit plus any voter-approved debt exclusions and, when applicable, overrides compose what is referred to as the maximum allowable levy. The maximum allowable levy for FY26 is $135,202,855. Again, the estimated levy for '26 from the previous slide is $126,711,700. This leaves an excess levy capacity of $8,491,155. This is the difference between the maximum property tax revenue a community is legally permitted to bill and the tax bills paid. To the right are the calculations. Page 17, historic levy limits and excess levy capacity. These tables show the history of the levy limits, and excess levy capacity over the last 2 decades. The historic tax levy has remained relatively steady, while the excess levy capacity has been increasing over the years. Again, this is the difference between what we could be raising and the amount actually levied. We haven't collected close to the full levy limit for over 15 years. Page 18, the City Council is here tonight to take a vote on the following. The selection of the residential factor recommended at .861738, which is a 1.75 CIP shift. 2, open space discount option. 3, residential exemption option. And 4, small commercial exemption option. Page 19, minimum residential factor. Starting with the minimum residential factor, the City Council must vote to determine the percentage of the tax levy to be paid by each class of real and personal property for the fiscal year. In determining these percentages, the Council must first adopt a residential factor that must be an amount not less than the minimum residential factor, or MRF, calculated by the Commissioner of Revenue. The residential factor adopted governs the percentage of tax levy to be borne by residential property owners. It does not change the total tax levy or the assessed values. An MRF of 1 would result in a single tax rate. As shown on the calculation below, the single tax rate for fiscal year '26 would be $12.51 across all properties. A factor lower than 1 would shift more of the tax burden to the commercial, industrial, and personal property parcels. Historically, Salem has adopted a split tax rate, with one rate applied to the residential properties and the other commercial, industrial, and personal properties. For fiscal year '26, it is recommended that the City Council adopt a minimum residential factor of .861738 for the City of Salem. The following slides illustrate how the MRF shift will impact the major property classes using the overall median as a basis. It's important to note that individual property tax bills will vary due to factors such as sales, changes, and renovations. Page 20, median single-family tax bill. With the recommended shift for fiscal year '26, the median single-family tax bill will increase by $338 compared to last year. The single-family tax bill increased by 5.8% for the fiscal year '26, with a 5-year average increase of 4%, despite the single-family values raising 11.7% as shown on page 7. Page 21, median residential condo bill. For FY26, the median residential condo bill would decrease by $69.89. The residential condo bill decreased this year by minus 1.38%, with a 5-year average of 2%, despite the condo values going up 5.8%. Page 22, median single-family condo bill. The median single-family tax bill will increase roughly $28.15 per month, and the median residential condo bill will decrease by $5.82 per month. Again, single-family and residential condos make up about 78% of all residential units in the city. Page 23, average single-family tax bill by community. Here is a bar graph comparing the average single-family tax bills for FY26 across neighboring municipalities in Essex County that have held their classification hearings. Among the seven neighboring communities shown, Salem's average single-family tax bill is the third lowest at $7,285 for the full year, just above Lynn and Saugus. Danvers, Beverly, Ipswich, and Marblehead are all above. As of today, Peabody, Swampscott, and Gloucester have not had their figures approved by the DOR. 38% of Salem's single-family homes are assessed above the average, and 62% of single-family homes are assessed below the average. Our finance department and mayor's office continue to work with the available funds to keep the impact of our primary class to a minimum. Page 24, average single-family tax bill increase municipal comparison. These two charts provide a comparison of single-family tax increases over the past 5 years in neighboring municipalities. The table on the left displays municipalities' average single-family tax bills sorted by their 5-year averages. The city of Salem is the third lowest, showing 383 average increase in the single-family tax bill this year and 243 5-year average. This demonstrates Salem's commitment to maintaining a low but fair tax increase, reflecting fiscal responsibility and effective budgeting management throughout the years. Page 25, median two-family bill. The median two-family tax bill will increase for FY26 is $426. Page 26, median three-family bill. The median three-family tax bill increase is $499 for FY26. Page 27, median commercial bill. The median commercial tax bill will increase for fiscal year 26 is $458 with a 1.7 CIP shift. Page 28, what does it mean to adopt the residential factor? Here's the proposed shift for the major classes. Residential class will assume 72.76% of the share. Commercial class will assume 13.42%, industrial 8.25%, and personal property 5.57% of the share. Page 29, tax levy calculation. Assuming the recommended 1.75 CIP split, or 0.861738 minimum residential factor, the residential tax rate will go down to $10.78 per thousand, and the commercial industrial personal property tax rate will go down to $21.89. Multiplying the total residential value by the residential tax rate and the total CIP value by the commercial rate per thousand gives us the levy. Page 30, tax rate history. This line graph is of Salem's historic tax rates starting in 1991 to today. They are not adjusted for inflation. In general, when the market reflects that sales prices are going up, typically tax rates go down. However, this is subject to the approved budgets and how much is needed to be recouped in tax dollars or the levy. For example, if the budget stayed the same, yet the values went up equally, the tax rates would go down to generate the same revenue needed. Similarly, if the budget remained unchanged, but all property values all decreased, the property tax bill will still be the same. Page 31, additional tax rate options. These three tax policy options may also be adopted by communities that have been certified as assessing at full cash value by the Department of Revenue. Open space discount, small commercial exemption option, and residential exemption option. The choice of either or both of the open space or residential option affects whether the community chooses to shift the tax burden within the residential class. The small commercial option affects the tax rate within the commercial industrial class. The following pages provide relevant information and data for each option. The Board of Assessors has determined that these options do not pertain to Salem, and such options should not be considered by the City Council. Page 32, open space discount. Open space discount is defined in Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 2A as land which is not otherwise classified and which is not taxable under the provisions of Chapter 61, 61A, or 61B, or taxable under permanent conservation restriction, in which land is not held for the production of income but is maintained in an open or natural condition and which contributes significantly to the benefit and enjoyment of the public. An exemption of up to 25% could be adopted for property classified as Class 2 open space. Currently, there is only one community in Massachusetts that grants this open space discount, and Salem has no parcels in this Class 2. Page 33, small commercial exemption option. An exemption of up to 10% of the total commercial property valuation may be adopted for eligible commercial properties. Granting this exemption raises the commercial tax rate and shifts the commercial tax burden from qualifying properties to ineligible commercial and all industrial properties, not including personal property Class 5. This is a shift only in the commercial industrial class and does not affect the residential properties in any way. As for the exemption guidelines, the parcel must be occupied as of January 1 by a business with an average annual employment of no more than 10 employees at all locations during the previous calendar year as certified by the Department of Employment and Training. If the property has more than one business, i.e. a strip mall, each business would have to have fewer than 10 employees for the exemption to be granted. All would have to qualify. The building value cannot exceed $1 million. Exemption is granted to the owner of the real estate, not the building owner, not the business owner or renter, as the law does not require the tax relief to be passed through to the business owner. Reasons against adopting this exemption. Most businesses in the city of Salem rent or lease their workspace. This would shift the burden onto any vacant commercial lot and onto all of Salem's industrial properties, which make up the smallest real property class with only 102 parcels. This exemption would shift a greater burden onto the higher value properties who already pay a large portion of the total tax levy share, 27.24%, at the proposed commercial tax rate shift. This hard-to-track exemption is applicable in communities that have a substantial commercial industrial base with a sufficient number of larger employers, one that could sustain an increase without losing or repelling businesses. There are only 14 municipalities out of 352 communities in the Commonwealth that have adopted this exemption. Page 34, residential exemption option. The residential exemption reduces the taxable valuation for each residential parcel that is the taxpayer's principal residence, owner-occupied and primary domicile. Granting this exemption raises the residential tax rate for all and shifts the residential tax burden from low-valued and owner-occupied homes to higher-valued and non-owner-occupied homes, which would experience a substantial increase in taxes. Apartments and multifamily parcels, which are not owner-occupied, would also see a significant higher tax burden. An individual who is granted this exemption could still end up paying more due to the valuation break-even threshold and the higher residential tax rate. Exemption is a misnomer since it's actually a tax shift and provides for a redistribution of tax levy among the residential property owners only within the residential class 1. This would not affect commercial or industrial properties in any way. Adoption of a residential exemption is a benefit only in those communities that have a substantial number of non-primary residences. Only 20 out of 352 communities in the Commonwealth have adopted this residential exemption. Cities and towns that utilize this tax option generally have a large percentage of non-primary residential rental units, Boston, Brookline, Cambridge, etc., or a large amount of resort seasonal tourist rentals, Nantucket, Provincetown, Truro, etc. Analysis into this exemption does not yield an advantageous benefit for the city of Salem. Most of the improved residential parcels are the principal residences of the taxpayer on record. Therefore, there is little or no benefit in adopting a residential exemption, one which Salem has never adopted. This program is also very costly to implement and maintain, as there would need to be extra staff associated with tracking and overseeing the non-owner occupied properties, along with opening personal property accounts for second homes and potentially abating them with late filings. This would also largely affect the rental market, as many apartment buildings are not owner-occupied, and therefore rents would most likely increase to cover the higher taxes. We currently offer multiple personal exemption clauses for those most in need for the financial assistance. Unlike this residential exemption option, a personal exemption clause granted would not have the major domino effect, as this option essentially pits the haves versus the have-nots. Page 35, exemptions. So those are the three options you're voting for tonight. However, before we end, I would just like to step aside for a brief moment to highlight the current exemption clauses and programs that the city has to offer. A personal exemption or clause exemption is a release from the obligation to pay all or a portion of the taxes assessed on your property. They are based on the personal circumstance of the property owner as of July 1st, 2025. The Massachusetts legislature has enacted the following clause exemptions, which if granted will be a deduction on the third and fourth quarter tax bills. Applicants must own and occupy their homes, as well as meet any and all qualification criteria as of this date. With limited exceptions, you may only receive one exemption under Mass General Law for each fiscal year. The table on the right shows the exemption clauses, a little description of each, and the amount able to be deducted, which fluctuate based on the taxes paid in the previous year. There are three means tested or income qualifying exemptions: the 17D, which is an asset qualifying exemption for widows, minors, and seniors 70 years or older; 41C, which is an income and asset qualifying exemption for seniors 65 years or older. The limit for each are listed on the left side text box, and the CPA exemption for low-income persons of any age or low to moderate income seniors 60 years or older. Senior Tax Exemption Program, or STEP, utilizes the circuit breaker credit granted from the state when filing your 2024 taxes. Half of what you were granted by the state is used as your local exemption. We also offer an exemption for the blind, an exemption for widows or minor property owners of fallen firefighters and police officers killed in the line of duty, and then we have a few clauses for disabled veterans, their surviving spouses, and Gold Star parents. In addition to these clauses, we offer the option for seniors 65 years or older to defer all or a portion of their taxes, which is then due upon sale of the property or when the homeowner passes away. And lastly, the Senior Workout Program is available for income qualifying seniors 60 years or older to sign up with the Council on Aging starting in January to be a volunteer and offer their skills-related services within the city departments. I find this program not only beneficial for the departments that they work in, but also for the participating seniors who are able to put their accumulative knowledge to use and, best of all, get a reduction on their taxes. In conclusion, the purpose of this hearing is to establish the proportion of tax levy shared by the residential and commercial class of property. The assessor's role in this purpose is to determine the values based on use of all properties in the city, determine the amount of new growth in property taxation each year, and determine the amount needed to be reserved for abatements and exemptions in the overlay account. Our values and new growth have already been set and approved by the Massachusetts Commissioner of Revenue. In June, the City Council started conducting budget hearings and approved, reduced, rejected, recommended appropriations brought forth to run municipal government. These decisions determined if the property tax collected for FY26 would be higher or lower than the property tax collected for fiscal year 25, the tax levy. The assessment department is always open to discuss with those in need of assistance any applicable exemptions for the program. We encourage all interested to visit our website for this information, plus more available details at www.salem.com/assessors, where we can be reached by email, or we are always available by phone, 978-619-5608, or stop by any time during City Hall business hours. No appointment needed, and our staff will be happy to assist you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Council Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move to close the public hearing.
Council Merkel moves to close the public hearing. All those in favor? We're checking Zoom. Stand by. And nobody on Zoom has their hand raised, so. All those in favor to close the public hearing? All those opposed? That carries. Thank you, Mr. Cortez.
Thank you.
Appointments and reappointments. Is there, I'm sorry. Council's under discussion. Anyone have any questions? Council Stott.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I mean, I think we're setting the tax rate for the city. I had a few questions, if now is the appropriate time. Yeah, okay.
It is.
Okay, great. So this, we have a lot of conversations going on within the city about our tax bill and possible implications that are coming up as well this year. So I wanted to touch on two things that I'm hoping Mr. Cortez could maybe expand upon with this presentation. The new growth that we had within the city this year. I noticed that last year it was about half of what we have for this year. And I wanted, but a few of the properties that were listed were similar properties that were also listed under new growth last year. So I'm hoping if you can expand upon about kind of how that calculation works and what we could see forward thinking, as well as relate it back to the public comment that we had earlier about the tax exemptions that we provide, that doesn't entirely wipe out the new growth revenue that we receive, correct?
That is correct. I'll answer that one first. So you're right, with properties that have TIFs, the growth is always captured. So whether a property has a TIF or not, eventually, year after year, growth is captured. And at the very end, substantial amount of growth is typically captured. So that's how that TIFs work with growth. There's no effect there. As far as how some of these properties were on last year's presentation is because they're done in phases. So after each year, the difference in value is the growth. So because they're larger projects, they take longer to complete, and therefore they go into the next fiscal year. As far as big projects that are potentially coming up, there's some on 38 Norman Street, there's 5 Broad Street, there is the rest of the single families that are being built on Strongwater Drive, 301 Essex Street, the Salem South Campus, just to name a few.
Thank you. And if I may, could you explain a little bit? This part always kind of confuses me a little every year, which I appreciate your thorough presentation, but especially coming up with, the conversations that we're going to have in this upcoming year about tax implications that we're going to ask for the residents. But can you explain to me the tax levy capacity and why we have such a high number and why we choose not to utilize that, to kind of leave it on the table in a sense?
Yeah, so the tax excess levy capacity is what we are not taxing the people, so the residents and the homeowners. So what's happened is with good budgeting and finance direction of taking funds from other sources, we haven't needed to tax up to that amount. So as you can see, it's 6% now. Last year was 6%, the year before 7%, the year before that 6%, 6%. So the DOR does not like to see you going to zero as shown in 2006. It just shows bad planning. But that's essentially how that works.
If I may, with follow-up, is there any guidance for the opposite of it? Like, obviously, they don't like to see you going to zero, but we just continue to grow and that number gets higher. And when do we kind of, not grow that high, and utilize that to pay our bills that we have coming up? Mm-hmm. Curious if there are best practices there. It seems like we're kind of on the higher end, and I'm curious when we tap into that, when needed.
Well, the answer is almost in that question. It's when needed. So when there are more bigger construction that are coming up, or utilities that need to be done, negotiations with the city, that's when that will be tapped into more so.
I guess if I may ask another question, does it matter if we tap into it that you can then kind of go backwards from tapping out of it? Like if we hit that number, you can reduce it the next year. Like it seems like with this chart, it's just kind of going up, but there is the ability to go in that direction.
That is correct.
And is it only set this, like obviously once a year when we set the tax rate here, this is when we pay our budget for the upcoming year. Do we perhaps have the expectation that we'll be hitting that a little closer next year? With a new big project that we have coming up, possibly?
That I would defer to James. Is James here? I would defer to James on that one.
Yes, so as Stephen sort of alluded to, the difference between what our levy capacity is and what we're actually using is the difference between what we are legally able to tax people and what we are. And so it's not as if we're leaving money on the table. If we were to use more of our levy capacity, that would result in larger tax bills. Right.
That's all I have. Thank you for humoring me, Mr. President.
Good job. Thank you. Councilor Stott. Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you, President. I cannot let that one comment go without a comment from the mayor. 5 Broad Street, can you hum a few bars about that, please? We've all been waiting for an update, and I guess it happened, so.
There's been forward progress on the transfer of the property, and we've given them through the end of the year for closing. So there's a new partner in the discussion, and they're looking to take over the project. So we've given them to the end of the year, and if it doesn't close, then we're going to reissue the RFP.
So it hasn't closed yet?
It hasn't, but we expect that it will.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Councilor Merkel. Closed. Public hearing is closed. No further discussion. We move on. Appointments and reappointments. Thank
We
you.
have held from the last meeting the mayor's appointment of Gail Kubik as the Assistant Building Director for the City of Salem.
Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President Brzezinski. I move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Councilor Varela moves for confirmation by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, President. So, thank you, Gail. So, I've had the pleasure of working with Gail as a business owner, and I really want to just put this out there that I really appreciate Gail's willingness to be patient with residents and business owners. Pretend we're all naive, because we are when it comes to enforcement. I think this is exactly what we need, and I just want to say thank you, Gail, for stepping up and being appointed, and I'm looking forward to you continuing the work here in Salem, so thank you.
Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President. So I've had the pleasure of working with Gail in a different capacity. While I was Vice Chair of the Sustainability, Energy, and Resiliency Committee, she was a member of that board, and a lot of people don't know that. She's a resiliency architect, which makes her one of the smartest people who ever lived. And I actually think that, you know, she brought a lot of thoroughness and new ideas. She's worked on some projects in communities that don't have, you know, planning departments and other things. But I think her experience and knowledge of resiliency and sustainability is going to serve us well, because it's very rare that departments such as building department have people with her expertise. So I'm really grateful that she's stepping up into this role.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. On Councilor Varela's motion of confirmation by roll call vote, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Watson Felt?
Yes.
Councilor Varela?
Yes.
Councilor Stott?
Yes.
Councilor Marcello?
Yes.
Councilor Merkel?
Yes.
Councilor Harvey?
Yes.
Councilor Hapworth?
Yes.
Councilor Cohen? Yes. And Councilor Presniewski?
Yes. Confirmation of Mayor's appointment of Gail Kubik to the Assistant Building Director. We have 9 yeas, 2 absent. Matter carries. Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President. I move for suspension of the rules to allow Ms. Kubik to speak.
Seeing no objection, Ms. Kubik.
Good evening, City Councilors. Thank you very much for your kind words. I do see some very familiar faces here tonight, and for those who are a little more unfamiliar, I look forward to collaborating with you in the future. And just to, you know, give you a little more understanding, I am a licensed architect. I have over 15 years of experience working in commercial, educational, historic preservation. I mean, I've kind of run the gambit in the private sector, but I've also worked in the nonprofit sector. And I've spent many years, especially after Superstorm Sandy down in New York City, working on the recovery and the rehabilitation effort with, you know, single-family owners, property owners, commercial businesses, et cetera. I am proud to say that I get to be a Salem resident now, and I have spent the past 10 years, as Councilor Cohen has mentioned, serving the city in one form or another, be it on the Conservation Commission, helping to write the Wetlands Ordinance, helping to write the Coastal Resiliency Ordinance, serving on the Sustainability, Energy, and Resilience Committee. So after all that time, now I get to actually say I work for this community and this great city, and I want to say thank you very much for this appointment, and that I look forward to working with our rich and varied building stock. Thank you.
Thank you. Further appointments and reappointments.
We have held from the last meeting the mayor's appointment of Karen Kavanaugh as the tree warden for the city of Salem.
Council Varela.
Thank you, Council President. I move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Council Varela moves for confirmation by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, President. Do not know Karen that well, but I just want to say thank you for stepping up as tree warden. We really need you. Appreciate the work and continue to see what you do.
Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President. I've worked with Kieran on a few projects in Ward 5, and will say that he's as responsive as anyone. He's actually gone to a lot of, property owners and climbed up on the ladder and done the work himself. And I think, it's not just being the tree warden, he also manages the cemetery, so I'm looking forward to his continued work. Thank you.
Councilor Stott.
Thank you, Mr. President. Also working with Kieran on a few projects. And as a North Salem resident, I know Kieran will take very good care of our trees throughout the city, as well as Green Lawn Cemetery. Agreed, he's out there. He's helped with not just tree care, but also the tree implications on our sidewalks and making sure that there's a happy middle ground. So I'm very happy to see Kieran step up, and I appreciate his work here in the city.
Any further discussion? Councilor Varela? Suspend the rules? For Mr. Keenan? On Councilor Varela's motion for confirmation by roll call vote. Madam, please call the roll.
Council Watson-Felt?
Yes.
Council Varela?
Yes.
Council Stott?
Yes.
Council Marcillo?
Yes.
Council Merkel?
Yes.
Council Harvey?
Yes.
Council Hapworth?
Yes.
Council Cohen?
Yes.
Council Presnewski?
Yes. On the mayor's appointment of Karen Kavanaugh as the tree warden for the city of Salem, we have 9 in the affirmative, 2 absent. Matter carries. Suspend the rules. Go ahead, Councilor Varela.
Thank you, Council President. Move for suspension of the rules if Mr. Kavanaugh is in Zoom land or here with us.
Seeing no objection, we do not see him. Okay, not on Zoom. Okay, moving along. Appointments and reappointments. Madam Clerk.
We have held from the last meeting the mayor's appointment of the following with the terms to expire: Elizabeth Bailey and Gabriela Baja.
Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President. Move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Councilor Varela moves for confirmation by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, President. I'll be brief. Just wanted to thank these 2 applicants for stepping up to a board and commission. Looking forward to the work.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Missing that one. Give me 1 second. Council Watson-Felt?
Yes.
Council Varela?
Yes.
Council Stott?
Yes.
Council Marcillo?
Yes.
Council Merkel?
Yes.
Council Harvey?
Yes.
Council Hapworth?
Yes.
Council Cohen?
Yes.
And Council Presnewski.
Yes. On the mayor's appointment of Elizabeth Bailey to the Food Council and Gabriela Baca to the Scholarship and Education Committee, we have 9 in the affirmative, 2 absent. Matter carries. Varela.
Thank you, President. I'd like to move for suspension of the rules if Ms. Bailey and Ms. Baca would like to speak, if they are in Zoom land or in person.
Seeing no objection. There you go.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gabby. I am coming on to the Scholarship and Education Committee. I am a newer Salem resident. I moved here in June of this year, but I have a career in higher education specifically with a master's in education and a doctorate in education. Access to continuing education is definitely a passion of mine, and I think I have a skill set that can really help in this way and help the Salem community, and I'm very excited to be a part of it. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Baca. One in Zoom. Elizabeth, we think you're in Zoom, so go ahead. We'll see if we can get you.
If you can unmute yourself.
Thank you so much. My name is Liz Bailey. I'm also a newer Salem resident, but I am very grateful for your nomination to the Food Policy Council. In my work with the Greater Boston Food Bank, I've seen firsthand how strong policy and collaboration can make a real difference, and I look forward to bringing that experience to serve our community. I'm excited to get to work and help advance a healthier, more food-secure Salem. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Further appointments and reappointments?
We have held from the last meeting the mayor's reappointments of the following with the terms to expire: Linda Fairbanks Atkins and Fred Ryan.
Councilor Varela?
Thank you, President. Move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Councilor Varela moves for confirmation by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, President. So both of these members of our residents are very well known in our community. I just wanted to thank them for their continued advocacy on our city and our boards.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Watson-Felt?
Yes.
Councilor Varela?
Yes.
Councilor Stott?
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo?
Yes.
Councilor Merkel?
Yes.
Councilor Harvey?
Yes.
Councilor Hapworth?
Yes.
Councilor Cohen?
Yes.
And Councilor Prosnewski?
Yes. On the mayor's reappointment of Linda Fairbanks Atkins to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund and Captain Fred Ryan from the Salem Police Department to the Salem Harbor Port Authority, we have 9 in the affirmative and 2 absent. Matter carried. Further appointments and reappointments.
We have the mayor's appointment of Nat Brennan of 212 Loring Ave to the Salem Human Rights Coalition.
Councilor Varela.
Thank you, Council President. I move this be received and filed.
Councilor Varela moves to be received and filed under discussion.
No discussion.
All those in favor of the receiving and file of the motion? All opposed? Matter carries. Communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $6,528,052.35 is hereby appropriated from general fund balance reserved for free cash to the following special revenue accounts: Stabilization Fund, Capital Improvement Fund, and other post-employee benefits.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. On the discussion.
Thank you. Of note, free cash is surplus funds from our prior fiscal year. They are required to be certified by the Massachusetts Department of Revenue every year around November, and these are annual transfers based on city policy.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Merkel's motion that we move this for adoption, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carried. Further communications from the mayor.
Wait, nope.
I'm sorry, under discussion.
You just see. I move, thank you. I move for immediate reconsideration in the hopes that it will not prevail.
Councilor Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration in hopes that it will not prevail. All those in favor? All those opposed? Opposed. Matter does not prevail. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $3,869,101 shall be raised and appropriated from the City of Salem General Fund for the purpose of supporting the fiscal year 2026 Trash Enterprise Fund expense subsidy, which presents the amount to be raised less operational expenses.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you. This is a housekeeping measure required by the Department of Revenue. It is not a change to our fiscal year 2026 budget. It was already accommodated in our budget.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counsel Watson-Felt?
Yes.
Counsel Varela?
Yes.
Counsel Stott?
Yes.
Counsel Marcillo?
Yes.
Counsel Merkel?
Yes.
Counsel Harvey?
Yes.
Counsel Hapworth?
Yes.
Counsel Cohen?
Yes.
And Counsel Prosnewski?
Yes. On Councilor Merkel's motion, appropriation of $3,869,101 be raised and appropriated for the city Salem General Fund for the purpose of supporting fiscal year 2026 trash enterprise. We have 9 in the affirmative, 2 absent. The matter carries. Merkel.
Thank you. I move for immediate reconsideration in hopes it will not prevail.
Councilor Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration in hopes that it would not prevail. All those in favor? All those opposed? Does not prevail. Further communications from the mayor.
With a sum of $1,985,394 is hereby appropriated from the following receipts reserved for appropriation accounts to reduce the tax rate amount to be raised by taxation when the fiscal year 2026 tax rate is set.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for the suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
We sweep these receipts collected to offset their costs. As it says in the order, this is done to keep our tax increase as low as possible.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, Councilor Merkel's move for adoption on this matter. All those opposed? Matter carries. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for immediate reconsideration in hopes it will not prevail.
Again, Councilor Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration in hopes that it does not prevail. All those in favor? All those opposed? Opposed. It does not prevail. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $1,700,000 is hereby appropriated from the fund balance reserved for appropriation free cash account to reduce the tax rate amount to be raised by taxation when the fiscal year 2026 tax rate is set.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
As it says in the order, this is a portion of our free cash to be moved to reduce the burden on our taxpayers.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Merkel's motion that this be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance.
No.
I'm sorry, move for adoption. We'll move for adoption, correct?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. On Councilor Merkel's motion motion move for adoption. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for immediate reconsideration in hopes it will not prevail.
Councilor Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration in hopes that it does not prevail. All those in favor? All those opposed? Opposed. Does not prevail. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $575,113.10 is hereby appropriated from the overlay surplus account to reduce the gross amount to be raised by taxation when the fiscal year 2026 tax rate is set.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. As was the previous order, these funds are being moved to reduce the burden on taxpayers.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Councilor Merkel's motion for adoption. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for immediate reconsideration in hopes it will not prevail.
Councilor Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration, hopes that it does not prevail. All those in favor? All those opposed? Opposed. Does not prevail. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $265,000 is hereby appropriate from general fund balance reserved for free cash to the capital outlay account to fund the remaining costs for the Salem Police Department rooftop HVAC project.
Council Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnowski. I move for suspension of the rules.
Council Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Council Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Council Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. The funding for this project was included in the fiscal year 2026 capital budget, but the amount budgeted is less than the lowest responsive bid that's been received. There's more info in the backup documentation from Captain Ryan on this. Neil Duffy has also been involved in this as well, and the system should be more efficient. I also spoke with Chief Miller about this. This work has been needed for 4 to 5 years and was pushed back a couple of times, and now it's critical that the work get done, and the estimates keep going up. And this amount is the difference between the original cost estimate and the cost to do the project today. And also of note, they are hoping for rebates from National Grid. They can't count on it, but they are hoping to get rebates on this as well.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none on Council Merkel's motion for adoption. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $250,000 is hereby appropriated from the general fund balance reserved for free cash to Human Resources Department unemployment compensation.
Council Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnowski. I move for suspension of the rules.
Council Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Council Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Council Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
This is a contractual obligation.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. Council Merkel's motion for adoption. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $210,756 is hereby appropriated within the capital outlay account to fund a temporary traffic pedestrian control signal and the installation of 6 no right turn on red signs at hazardous intersections.
Council Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnowski. I move for suspension of the rules.
Council Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Council Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Council Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. And this is for the acquisition of a temporary and portable traffic and pedestrian signal system that can be used for traffic signal control at dangerous intersections. The cost is about $135,000, and the system additionally can be utilized at city construction sites during road and infrastructure projects to help facilitate the safe circulation of pedestrians and vehicles through work zones. Also in this order, it's for the acquisition and installation of 6 dynamic no turn on red signs to be installed at the intersections identified in our recently adopted ordinance. The changes for regulations regarding a number of these intersections, and the cost for these 6 no turn on red signs is about $34,000. The additional funds are for the installation costs. And there is a considerable amount of lead time for this equipment. It's been recommended by the mayor that we adopt this tonight so that the relevant city departments can begin the procurement process. And there is more info on this in the backup documentation from Dave Chikarsky, our Director of Transportation.
Any further discussion? Council Marcello.
Thank you, President. I want to publicly say that I am very impressed with how quickly this moved. Hopefully it won't take this many years to get these kinds of signals, but I want to say that this was really great work, and it was very fast, and I thank the mayor for prioritizing this work. Just to give a little bit of context to what is being purchased, this is the portable light that's going to be purchased to be used at work sites or on a temporary basis to try out different, a pedestrian signal, for instance. This is the signal that goes along with it. They work in tandem. And so, I didn't even know that that was a possibility, but it's pretty awesome. And then the no turn on red that's coordinated with the crosswalk looks like this is what they're focused on, the smaller box, which is the normal universal signal, I think, for no turn on red. So again, I want to give credit where credit is due, and the departments, I think everyone worked really well together to make this happen this quickly. And yeah, the lead time is substantial on any sort of signals like this. So hopefully in the next year, we'll see these up and working, and it will start to make a difference. And thank you.
Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President. I just wanted to hurry up and get them up at Riley Plaza.
Any further discussion? Seeing none on Councilor Merkel's motion that we move this matter for adoption, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $62,820 is hereby appropriated from the Human Resources Collective Bargaining Salary Reserve Account and transferred to the various accounts listed below for the Salem Library Staff Association, MLSA, fiscal year 26 through 28 contract.
Merkel?
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion?
Yes, these are, again, contractual obligations, and this is housekeeping. We had the funds in our reserves.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. On Councilor Merkel's motion for adoption, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $51,100 is hereby appropriated from general fund balance reserved for free cash to the stabilization fund to replenish appropriations made prior to the certification of the fiscal year 26 free cash.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion?
Yes, this is housekeeping. We use our stabilization fund, which is our rainy day fund, and we replenish it once our free cash is certified by the Department of Revenue. And these particular funds are being used for the fire station repairs on North Street.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Merkel's motion that this be adopted, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $31,200 is hereby appropriated from general fund balance reserved for free cash to the account listed below to replenish costs for the ASME wage study, contracted services.
Councilor Merkel?
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion?
Thank you. This study was agreed to as part of the collective bargaining agreement with ASME.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Councilor Merkel's motion that we adopt this matter. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
Per Master General Law, Chapter 44, Section 64, which allows for municipalities to pay for prior fiscal year invoices using current fiscal year appropriations by a two-thirds vote, there's a request for the sum of $5,130 of outstanding fiscal year 25 invoices to be paid from the fiscal year 26 Park and Rec Golf Course Department's budget.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. I'm seeing no objection. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption by roll call vote as noted, two-thirds vote needed.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption by roll call vote, two-thirds vote needed. Under discussion.
Thank you. This was a new National Grid account and meter that was set up during the EV charging station and electrical upgrade project. This invoice service dates are for June of 2024 to September of 2025, and the bill was sent to the electrical department and then recently forwarded to Parks and Rec.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counsel Watson-Felt?
Yes.
Counsel Stott?
Yes.
Counsel Marcello?
Yes.
Counsel Merkel?
Yes.
Counsel Harvey?
Yes.
Counsel Hapworth?
Yes.
Counsel Cohen? And Counsel Prosnewski?
Yes. On Councilor Merkel's motion for adoption that we pay $5,130 for outstanding fiscal year 2025 invoices allowed to be paid from the fiscal 2026 year to Park and Rec Golf Course Department's account. We have 9 in the affirmative. I'm sorry, 8 in the affirmative, 3 absent. Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the mayor and the city council accept the provisions of Section 4, Chapter 73 of the Acts of 1986 for the fiscal year 2026, and that such additional exemptions granted be by 100% of the statutory exemption amounts, provided all of the qualifications specified in said Section 4, Chapter 73 of the Acts of 1986 are met.
Councilor Merkel?
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. On the discussion?
Thank you. As was referenced in the presentation, these exemptions are voted on every year since 2009, enabling close to 4,000 exemptions since then. Exemptions for veterans, widows, older adults, disabled residents. So this is welcome every year.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. On Councilor Merkel's motion to adopt, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order for refunding of bonds.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Yes, this allows existing bonds that the city holds to be refinanced at a lower rate. It does not allow for new bond orders.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. On Councilor Merkel's motion to adopt, all those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Further communications from the mayor? No, we skipped over that one. We're going to be moving on to the mayor's informational page, but thank you, Councilor Merkel, for all the work that you did to give everybody an explanation of all this hard work. Thank you very much. Mayor's informational page, Madam Clerk.
We have the letter from the mayor with his recommendation of the setting of the current fiscal year tax rate.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move this be received and filed.
Councilor Merkel moves that it be received and filed. Under discussion?
No discussion.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of receiving and filing? That it carries. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption by roll call vote. Do I read this? Okay, so residential factor, determination of the percentage of total taxes to be borne by the 4 classes of property, ordered that the City of Salem adopt a residential factor of 86.1738% for fiscal year 2026, and I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Stephen Cortez, also James LeBlanc, our finance director, the Board of Assessors. They've worked so hard to manage the tax burden on our property owners, knowing the impact it has on our residents. They've prioritized efficiency in our city operations, pursuing grants, pursuing revenue from visitors, and our most powerful tool being responsible growth that adds to our tax base. We have more excess capacity in the levy limit this year than last year. It just continually speaks to the city's responsible financial practices. And I really appreciate the hard work that has gone into this.
Any further discussion? Council Varela.
Thank you, President. Just a little housekeeping here. I know it says on the agenda 86.1738, but the residential factor is 0.861738. I just wanted, for clarity, that's what we're voting on.
Clarify the Scribner's error.
0.86, yep. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Merkel's move for adoption by roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Is it percent?
It's on the order as a percent.
Yeah, because it's percent. Yeah, it's a percent. Yeah, I don't know what the 28 different number? Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Okay, I thought you had a different.
Council Merkel, if you could clarify, please.
Yes, I'm going to read it again. Ordered that the City of Salem adopt a residential factor of 86.1738% for fiscal year 2026. And I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Council Merkel moves for adoption by roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Watson-Felt?
Yes.
Council Varela?
Yes.
Council Stott?
Yes.
Council Marcello?
Yes.
Council Merkel?
Yes.
Council Harvey?
Yes.
Council Hapworth?
Yes.
Council Cohen? And Council Prosnewski?
Yes. On the matter that the city adopt a residential factor of 86.1738% for fiscal 2026. We have 9 in the affirmative, 2 absent. Matter carries. Council Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I move for immediate reconsideration in hopes it will not prevail.
Council Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration and hopes it does not prevail. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter does not prevail. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Council Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. Ordered that the City of Salem not adopt an open space exemption for fiscal year 2026, and I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Council Merkel moves for adoption by roll call vote. On the discussion.
Thank you. This was explained in the presentation.
Yes, it was. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Merkel's motion for adoption by roll call vote that it does not adopt an open space exemption. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Watson-Felt?
Yes.
Council Varela?
Yes.
Council Stott?
Yes.
Council Marcello?
Yes.
Council Merkel?
Yes.
Council Harvey?
Yes.
Council Hapworth?
Yes.
Council Cohen? And Council Prosnewski?
Yep. On the motion that the City of Salem does not adopt the open space exemption, we have 9 in the affirmative, 2 absent. Motion carries. Council Merkel?
Thank you. I move for immediate reconsideration in hopes it will not prevail.
Council Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration, hopes it does not prevail. All those in favor? All those opposed? Does not prevail. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. Ordered that the City of Salem not adopt a residential exemption for fiscal year 2026, and I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
No discussion.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Watson-Felt?
Yes.
Council Varela?
Yes.
Council Stott?
Yes.
Council Marcello?
Yes.
Council Merkel?
Yes.
Council Harvey?
Yes.
Council Hapworth?
Yes.
Council Cohen?
Yes.
And Council Prosnewski?
Yes. On the motion that the City of Salem not adopt a residential exemption for fiscal year 2026, we have 9 in the affirmative, 2 absent. Motion carries. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for immediate reconsideration in hopes it will not prevail.
Again, Councilor Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration in hopes it does not prevail. All those in favor? All those opposed? That does not prevail. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Merkel.
Order that the City of Salem not adopt a small commercial exemption for fiscal year 2026, and I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
No discussion.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counsel Watson-Felt?
Yes.
Counsel Varela?
Yes.
Counsel Stott?
Yes.
Counsel Marcello?
Yes.
Counsel Merkel?
Yes.
Counsel Harvey?
Yes.
Counsel Hapworth?
Yes.
Counsel Cohen?
Yes.
And Counsel Prosnewski?
Yes. On the matter of the City of Salem not adopt small commercial exemption for fiscal year 2026, we have 9 in the affirmative, 2 absent. Motion for adoption, all carries. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for immediate reconsideration in hopes it will not prevail.
Councilor Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration, hopes it does not prevail. All those in favor? All those opposed? Opposed. Matter does not fail. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Marcello.
Thank you, President. In the year 2025, an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Chapter 24, Section 50B, handicapped zones, limited time, be amended by adding the following. Ocean Ave West in front of number 183, Ocean Ave West for a distance of 24 feet, west of the driveway of 183 Washington Ave West, running for a distance of 20 feet. I was almost done. Okay. And I move for adoption for first passage.
Councilor Marcello moves for adoption by first passage. Any discussion?
Yes. So I don't usually talk about the reason for handicapped parking spaces. In this case, I want to bring it up because I would like the new counselors in the room and those coming back to consider taking some action on this. This is a case where there's a handicapped child who lives in the home who is in a wheelchair. He gets older and bigger, and it's harder and harder for his parents to get him from the car to the house. And I don't know why it took this long to get this request in. Maybe the parent just didn't realize that they could do this. But the problem is that we're having first passage tonight, and second passage isn't going to be until January, and this is an issue. And this is an issue in the fall when we only have one meeting a year, and it's an issue in the summer when we don't have meetings as often as we should. Things like this get held up, and this is an embarrassing problem for the city to have, I think, is how I want to say it. These are temporary parking spots that are set up for emergency situations. Temporary in that it's not a city use for that parking space. It's because the person living in the house needs it for 3 months or 3 years or however long, but it takes so long to get these, and we don't seem to have a system of putting up an emergency sign until we get these things passed. I would love to see, and this is my request to those in the room who will be here next year, I would love to see these kinds of temporary handicap parking signs removed from the ordinances. Keep the ones in that are downtown, that are set up for general use, for commercial use in the ordinances, and bring them to the council. But these kinds of things that come in where people need this in a hurry, basically, should be handled through the police department and should be reviewed yearly. That's the other thing that will come up later. The police department or whoever ends up doing this should have a process where every year they go back and check to see if that space is still needed, because they usually tend to sit there and the sign stays up and no one informs the police department that they could come down. So I think this area could use some work, and I implore my fellow counselors to take this on. I did talk to Lieutenant Tucker about it at our last meeting, and he is very willing to work with anyone and sees it also as an issue. So thank you very much.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Marcello's motion that we adopt this matter for first passage. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Marcello.
Thank you, President.
Waive the reading.
Wow. I move for adoption for first passage.
Councilor Marcello moves for first passage. On the discussion?
No discussion. Oh, this is, I'm sorry, this is the repeal that I was talking about, and it was found because he was going out looking at another spot on the road. So this just kind of supports my other comment. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none on Council Marcello's motion for adoption, that this be repealed. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Council Marcello.
In the year 2025, in ordinance, I move for adoption for first passage.
Council Marcello moves for adoption for first passage. Under discussion.
This is a new parking spot on Hathorn. Nope, this is a repeal also. Sorry, this is also a repeal. Sorry.
Yeah. Any further discussion on Councilor Marcello's motion to repeal the handicap zone on Hawthorne Boulevard? All those in favor? All those opposed? That carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Harvey.
In the year 2000...
Waive the reading.
This actually goes back to...
Make a motion.
I move for first passage.
Councilor Harvey moves for first passage. Under discussion.
Thank you, President. This exactly what Councilor Marcello was just talking about. This family actually called Lieutenant Tucker to let them know that they no longer need to sign this, so that's where we're at.
Any further discussion on Councilor Harvey's motion to repeal the handicap zone 800 at 60 Highland Avenue? All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Happ.
In the year 2025, an ordinance to waive the reading. Thank you. I move for adoption for first passage.
Councilor Hapworth moves for adoption. First passage. Under discussion.
No discussion.
Seeing no discussion on Councilor Hapworth's motion for adoption. First passage on time-limited unmetered zones. All those in favor? All those opposed? That carries. We do have a late file. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. City of Salem and City Council, December 4th, 2025, ordered that the 2026 inauguration and City Council organizational meeting shall take place as a special meeting on Monday, January 5th, 2026 at 10 a.m. at the Peabody Essex Museum, 161 Essex Street here in Salem, and I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. There will be no discussion. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Committee reports. Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. City of Salem and City Council, December 4th, 2025. Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, Legal Affairs, to whom is referred the matter of granting certain licenses. Seaworms has considered said matter and recommend they be granted.
On the acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Report accepted. On the discussion?
No discussion.
On Councilor Hapworth's adoption for recommendation, all those in favor? All those opposed? Seaworms carry. Councilor Hapworth, further committee reports.
Thank you, Mr. President. City of Salem and City Council, December 4th, 2025. Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, to whom is referred the matter of carrying matters forward, has considered said matter and recommend Rule 29B be suspended so matters may be carried forward for the year 2026. See list attached. I guess I'll read these off here. The following matters be discharged. Number 390. Number 252. Number 136. Number 442. And that is it for discharge.
On the acceptance of the report, all those in favor? All those opposed? On the adoption of the recommendation?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, there was a number here, number of items here that councilors felt we wanted to carry forward so we can discuss in 2026. So there were only three here that were discharged.
On the acceptance of the recommendation by Councilor Hapworth, all those in favor? All those opposed? Those matters carry. Further committee reports, Councilor Wassenfeld.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. Thank you. Committee on Community and Economic Development, to whom it was referred the matter of carrying matters forward, has considered said matter and would recommend that Rule 29B be suspended so matters may be carried into the new year of 2026. See list attached. There are 3 items here for discharge, numbers 36, numbers 164, and numbers 183, and 2 to carry over.
On the acceptance of the report, all those in favor? All those opposed? Report is accepted. Councilor Rosenfeld.
Thank you. The 2 items in the Community and Economic Development Committee that we have recommended to carry over are items 437 and item 539, reviewing current vision plans and future of Charlotte Fortin Park, co-posted with Committee of the Whole, and meet with city departments to review outside dining policy to make edits, including year-round outdoor dining. The committee had a really brief but good conversation on this, and I'm looking forward to the work of the future council on the matters. Thank you.
On Councilor Watsonfeld, recommendation on these matters, all those in favor? All those opposed? Carries. Further committee reports, Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President and City Council. December 4th, 2025, the Committee on Public Health, Safety, and Environment, to who it was referred, the matter of carrying matters forward, has considered said matter and would recommend that Rule 29B be suspended so matters may be carried into the new year. And I move that we do that with 531. Thank you.
On the acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Report is accepted. Councilor Cohen.
Thank you. So we discharged the following: noise pollution, composting, gas leaf blower, and a petition from residents, and we kept or move forward 531, which is when traffic and parking issues come before the council relative to 30A, there will be multiple reviews, and that will be carried forward to the next term. Thank you.
On the adoption of Councilor Cohen's committee recommendation, all those in favor? All those opposed? Recommendations carry. Further committee reports, Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President. City of Salem, December 4th, and City Council to report on the Committee of Government Suits to refer the matter of carrying matters forward, has considered this matter and recommend that Rule 29 be suspended so that mandated matters can be carried into the new year. Forget, I'm tired. What am I doing? Yeah, suspend Rule 21B. I am out of my mind. Acceptance of the report.
On the acceptance of the report, and all those in favor? Under discussion.
Thank you, President. Sorry. So we've discharged most items. We discharged, meet the city, discuss city seal, adopting General Law 5922, the HERO Act, which was disposed earlier this year. Public guides be given a grace period. Meet to discuss contract services with waste management, and resolution to Jewish American Heritage Month were all discharged, with exception of number 319, home rule petition to amend the city charter to provide for ranked choice voting.
On the adoption of Councilor Varela's committee recommendation, all those in favor? All those opposed? Recommendation carries. Further committee reports? We have to switch. Councilor Marcello, you want to take the...
Councilor Presnewski.
Thank you. Committee report on the Committee of the Whole, to whom it was referred the matter of carrying matters forward, has considered said matter and would recommend that Rule 29B be suspended so matters may be carried into the new year of 2026. We have 5 matters that were discussed. 2 are going to be carried over, and 3 were recommended not to be carried over.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? All those opposed? On adoption of the recommendation, Councilor Presnewski.
Yes, we have And the matters which were discharged was from 2022 to meet and discuss ARPA funds, which have already been appropriated. A matter from 2020, that was number 271. From 2023, the matter of number 559, the flag of Massachusetts tribe, Ponkapog, to be displayed in the chambers. That is going to be carried over. On number 138 from 2024, the Committee of the Whole, the school committee meet with Senator Lovely, Representative Cruz on questions and answers. That was discharged. On 2024, matter number 574, there was to meet with Andrew DeFranza and Jason Etheridge about the project on Margin Street. That was discharged. And the last one, which will stay over till next year, is matter number 47, which is the Chief of Police submit a report containing data relative to school bus violation enforcement tickets.
Any further discussion?
No.
Seeing none, on adoption of the recommendation, all those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries.
Communications from city officials. Councilor Hapworth. I'm sorry. Okay.
That's it. We have a report from the planning board to the city council regarding the requirements specific to marijuana retailer establishments.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move this be received and filed.
Councilor Hapworth moves to be received and filed. Under discussion?
No discussion.
Let it be known that Councilor Varela did recuse himself from this. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of this motion being received and filed? Matter carries. Further communications from city officials.
We'll just have to take action on the ordinance itself relative to zoning on the requirements.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Hapworth moves that this matter be moved over to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. Under discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just briefly, this is the zoning clock will take us into, I think, late January, early February on this here, so we're okay for next year to take this up early in the year and vote on it in a committee meeting or council meeting. I'm sorry, I had that as a note too. Move to suspend Rule 29B to move this to committee and carry it forward.
Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President. I'm not going to vote to refer this to committee. I believe that we could take a vote today. I believe that the planning board's recommendation of adding one is appropriate. We heard some really good testimony from two of the operators, both Salem residents, with really important information that, convinced me. I think the sooner that we allow for social equity, the better. And this is really important because when the Cannabis Commission was established and the rules were set, it was way too expensive for anyone who is a social equity operator to be able to start a retail establishment. Unless there's good reason to have further discussion, I will make a motion that we move to adopt.
Point of order. There's already a motion on the floor right now to send this to committee.
Well, I'm going to vote against that.
Councilor Marcello.
Thank you, President. Referencing back to the report that came from the planning board, I think I agree with them. I remember that this came up during the joint public hearing and the need for three all at once. I don't have a problem with sending it to committee, though. I think, in my mind, if we were going to take first passage on it, then I would want to do second passage this year also. But this, I think, gives the new council in January the ability to have a full discussion on what is in this ordinance and which way they think would be best to move forward. we would have to make an amendment to the zoning first before we voted on it if we did it tonight, and I'm not prepared to do that without a fuller discussion, and that is the purpose of committees, is to have that kind of fuller discussion. So I think it should go to committee, and I am, just for those who are listening, I am in favor of moving forward with just one.
Councilor Stott.
Thank you, President Presenuski. I will make a comment about timing. This is frustratingly annoying that something like this falls in between the two members' bodies. As we were the body that was present during the joint public hearing, did listen to the planning boards receiving the filing, I will also, I would be comfortable taking a vote tonight, but I am fine with also it going to committee, and hopefully the new body will do their homework, as we know they will, and listen to those past meetings. But as they were unable to ask questions during those meetings and be more involved, I think it does send a message to state what our stance is the body that participated in that process. And I am in agreement with the planning board recommendation of the one additional license. I tried to push and prod as to like, how did the city get to that 3 number? And there was really no scientific reasoning for it. And that was a little frustrating. So I agree with the addition of 1, specifically for socio and economic. And if more are needed in the future, can do the same process. But I just would also like to express my support of moving forward for 1. However the body wants to do that, I am fine with.
Councilor Watson-Felt.
Thank you, President Presenuski. I just want to echo the same sentiments of both Councilor Marcillo and Councilor Stott. I think my big hang-up with taking first passage tonight would be specifically around the logistics of amending that language. I'm also in favor of adopting the planning board's recommendation for just 1 license, but without wordsmithing with legal's hawk eyes on the appropriate ordinance changes. I would not be comfortable taking that vote tonight. So just again, echoing the sentiments, I look forward to the future council's work on this. And, you know, maybe we can all show up to public comment and and make our position known as citizens as well. Thanks.
Any further discussion? On Councilor Harper's motion to refer this to Committee on Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from city officials.
We have the City Sale Task Force submitting their final report relative to evaluating the City of Salem city sale and developing recommendations for potential modifications to said sale.
Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President Presenuski. I move to accept the report of the Salem City Task Force and refer the matter to the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Varela moves to accept the report of the Salem City Seal Task Force and then refer the matter to the Committee of the Whole. Any discussion?
Thank you, President Presenuski. I'll be brief. So this is the start of a conversation, and as we all know, this is kind of, I would say, complex. So just so the public and the rest of the council is aware, when it comes to us actually changing the city seal, that is done through ordinance in actual language. So the next step is going to be deciding what that language is if we do, in fact, want to change the seal. I believe that this is going to be a long conversation, and we need to do it thoughtfully and figure out if we, in fact, did change the city to seal, how would we actually do that and what manner? So I'm looking forward to these conversations next year. We're not going to take these lightly, and we have to take our time with this. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you. This is my final long speech. Enjoy. I've gone back and forth on how much to say about this report. On the one hand, I will not be on the council next year if this goes back to the committee. On the other, I recognize that I pushed for the creation of the City Seal Task Force as a way to debate and provide public engagement on this issue. So I want to make sure my comments are on the record and heard by next year's council. And above all else, process is important. How we get to a decision or a vote is as important as the vote. Though this item is before the City Council, it's only here because the city seal is described in the ordinances. The decision about whether or not to create a new city seal should not be political and should not be made by this council without robust public engagement. There's a reason why I've now twice used the phrase public engagement. We all know from working on the City Council that public engagement is challenging. Engagement is not the same as reaction. Most public comments I heard at the meetings were reactive to the change being proposed. Engagement is different. With engagement, there is a presentation to explain the research and to frame the boundaries of the discussion areas. And then there's a facilitated discussion with an impartial facilitator. And successive meetings build on previous engagement. If I think about what I have been involved in over the past 6 years as a counselor that has garnished the most public engagement, it would have to include the studies we have done on Highland Avenue, the new wetlands ordinance, and the new climate resiliency overlay district ordinance. These types of studies are done to create a vision of an area, or to create a new ordinance, or change zoning, or design capital improvements. There are multiple public engagement sessions for each study, led by outside professionals who bring neutrality and organization to the proceedings. Now, having said this, I want to point out that the City Seal Task Force did not have any real public engagement. They had public comment. Listening sessions where there is no conversation is not public engagement. For myself, the meetings have me thinking about several questions. One, is the depiction of a human figure on the City Seal problematic by nature? Can one figure truly represent a group or nation or any body of people? Looking around this room at the portraits on the walls, I find myself again wondering when we will include women, many of whom have had larger positive impact on the city than the white men that we see. So I do see the problems that arise when trying to represent a group with a single figure. Two, is the figure on the seal a caricature or a representation of an individual in historic dress? Again, I think about how I would feel looking at some representations of Irish people, my nationality, as drunkards or leprechauns, indeed caricatures that are problematic, not respectful of a people known for their great writers and poets, musicians, and traditional dancers. Their humor and creativity, and beyond all else, their resiliency in the face of oppression. So I sympathize with my fellow Salem residents who raised the issue of the City Seal being problematic and insulting. They did what all of us should be doing. They questioned a norm, they brought the concerns to elected representatives and asked for change. I applaud them for having the strength to question the relevance of the City Seal. I applaud the members of the task force for trying to deal with the issue, even in the face of public backlash. And I want to say one thing about public comments and behavior online that I saw and were referenced in the report. People need to learn how to be adults and have a conversation. Unfortunately, some believe that the only way to make their point is to shout, talk over, insult, label, and bully others. This needs to change. The impact of their behavior is the silencing of others who would like to participate but can't bring themselves to enter toxic meetings. State a different opinion than their neighbor. Too often, comments are made, then followed up with disrespect, labeling others as racist, questioning the motives of members of the task force, all of which negate any point the commenter was trying to make. This is not okay, and we all need to do better and to expect better. Back to the report. As I said, there's just so much to point out. Truthfully, there is too much contained in the links and the footnotes that I have not yet been able to fully digest. Therefore, much of my comment going forward is from the text itself. The entire document is hurried. I know this from reviewing the recordings of the meetings and from the document itself. The result is less than a robust report. The footnotes are not easily accessible. There are links to comments that are not summarized in the body of the report. There was little to no public engagement, and what was maybe real engagement with the Youth Commission was not given context. Who did the presentation that preceded the written comments? What was presented? How was it presented? Was there discussion? The whole thing was completely glossed over. The fact that members of the task force questioned the need or appropriateness of comments from the people of Aceh, but sought input from groups outside of Salem, like the AAPI Commission of Massachusetts, the NAACP, the Massachusetts Tribe at Pompanoag, the Asian Pacific Islanders Civic Action Network, but did not include the text of the communication sent to them asking for their input, leaves me wondering. How did these groups research the city seal and its history? And why is their outside opinion any more legitimate and scholarly than the residents of Aceh? The report did not offer an opinion on whether the problem is the figure itself or the time in history. Could the time period be better illustrated without a human figure? The report did not offer an opinion on whether there should be two emblems, a city seal for official legal documents and a logo for other things like trash cans and streetlight bases. This is a quibble, but page 17 purports to be written by Professor Erica Lee, but is written in the third person with no footnotes to base the information on, and I question if she did write it. I don't want someone's interpretation of her presentation unless it is presented as such. On page 27, Dr. Aditi Alawat states that the city seal is an illustration which differs from graphic design, but does not make the case for one over the other. I find illustrations to be more interesting, and if I compare the city seal, the Salem city seal, with the new Natick city seal, I'm intrigued to learn more about Salem city seal while being completely bored by Natick's generic-looking bridge over calm waters. For sure, Natick's new seal is better than the depiction of the Native Americans on the original, so there is that. But is the city seal better if it's a graphic design? I don't know, and I don't think the report took a stand. Additionally, Dr. Alawat states that, quote, when reproduced at small scale, historical costume and Sumatran features cannot be differentiated from stereotypical Asian costume and features, end quote. So is the problem that the reproduction of the city seal is at a small scale, and that's where the problem lies? Is that the reason it looks like a caricature or stereotype, or is it the original image that's at fault? She also states that it is, quote, impossible to contextualize each occurrence of the seal with a paragraph of text, end quote. This is true of every seal, no matter what it is. I don't know what the bridge represents in Natick, and I certainly don't know what the 6 feathers and a circular pattern represent in one of the proposals for the Massachusetts seal. I don't think that we should be dumbing down our seal or flag because it will require people to seek out information. Timing's everything, and this is true for this report. As stated, the state of Massachusetts is also reviewing its seal and flag. And though the report states that a decision will be made by the end of the year, it was just delayed. Why? Not enough public engagement. The public doesn't understand why the change is needed and how the finalists better represent what Massachusetts is to the residents and to the rest of the world. But none of this is to say that I am for or against changing the city seal. I would like to see a real public engagement. I would like to see the public engagement led by impartial entities. I would like to see more engagement with students at all grade levels. I think that there is a case to be made for a new city seal. I just don't think that the process has been completed. The report leaves many open questions. This report is a good first step to gather the history of the seal and to reflect on how a fuller understanding of our history does leave questions about whether we should consider a new city seal. I believe that the city seal was aspirational for many at the time it was adopted and for quite a while after. But is it still aspirational? Should a city seal be aspirational? Should it tell our history as a city, or should it represent the city today? These are the questions that we as residents need to work on building consensus around before deciding to change the city seal. thoughtfully, with intention, and with respect, taking the time needed. Process is important. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? See, Councilor Stott.
Thank you, President Presniewski. Everything that Councilor Marcillo so eloquently stated. I would like to start off these comments with agreeing with a lot of that, and also I'm concerned about the language that was just used about we need to figure out how to change our ordinance to take the next step here. I think the next step of receiving this report is to continue the conversation. We owe the community a robust public process around this. And from what I witnessed over the past, not over a year, because the task force did not start meeting until March and wrapped up in September. So over the summer, with not every member being able to meet, it was a rushed process with a lot of emotions, understandably. And I appreciate all of those that participated in the process. Anybody could easily see that it was not an easy process. We as a body or as a city need to figure out how to make that a little easier and make that a little more comfortable for people and make it more productive. Because what just happened was reading that report was not very productive. One of the things that stick out for me, and I'm prefacing my comments because I'm not going to be a voting member on this, any change going forward, I'm like, I really don't care. Like, go, if the public wants to change the seal, go for it. Like, I have, like, if somebody's, I don't think a person belongs on it, it can be changed. I have no, strong feelings towards it. I do have strong feelings towards this report and this process that it was not completed, and I would never vote to change it based off of what just happened. We don't even have an inventory or a matrix of where the seal is used. That, I think, would be like the number one thing. Like, how are we using something that we want to change if we don't even know, like, oh, it's on lampposts and it's on this presentation here, but like Gail had it on her emblem on her vest. Like, there was no robust inventory of where it's used. How can you change a symbol if you don't even know where that symbol is utilized? That's step one. So I think there were a lot of just misses that had been done, including the community conversation part. All that said, we can create a safe space to do that. We had I was thinking, watching those meetings, I was thinking back often to 2020 when we formed that race equity task force in the summer of 2020, and we had so many difficult conversations as the public, as committees within there, and I was trying to think what was different about that. We had an outside body come in and help us. We had an outside facilitator come in and help those conversations and help guide us. They never ever would have rushed the final report. We drafted the report, we met multiple times, we had feedback. It was never we need to get this done because our minds aren't going to be changed. And that was because, I think, largely because we had that outside facilitator. So I think as next steps, hopefully the body going forward will really take a lot of this feedback into consideration, educate on the meetings that did occur, the documents that are provided, and think about some thoughtful next steps here about how the public process can continue and how it can continue to be engaged, and have some valid next steps of getting towards a robust report where everybody feels heard and we are actually able to get to a spot, get to yes, as Councilor Marcillo says, or get to no, whatever the answer may be, but that process needs to be there to happen, and good luck to all of y'all for doing that.
Councilor Watson-Feld.
Thank you, President Presniewski. Once again, I find myself just echoing the comments of Councilor Stott Marcillo made before me. I will say, I was a vocal supporter of the establishing of this task force and this incredibly important conversation, because when harm is being done, whether inadvertently or directly, to any members of our society, it's incredibly important and our unique responsibility to take a step back and make space for a review of that pain and ensure that if we can cease harm caused in society, we should do that. And that is the mindset with which I supported the establishing of the task force and the conversation. And I understand that I understand it is a more contentious conversation than perhaps, I would want it to be. That said, when there are times of heightened emotion, when there are times of pain and there is harm caused, and there is also, you're staring in the face of a 400-year legacy and a society that is known across the globe, it is incredibly important to lean on the process, which exists to make space for everybody, which exists to help progress matters that are difficult and contentious through the public process. I am disappointed in the lack of transparency in the report, with the format of the report, the way with which the report was put together, the timing around which the report was put together and delivered to us. And I am disappointed because for me, this felt like an easier yes. Could have been an easier yes, should have been an easier yes. And I agree with the comments made that a third-party moderator or arbitrator in a public space is important and could have helped to diffuse a lot of what we saw in that space. I will add, it's tricky because I also don't believe that human rights belong on a ballot necessarily. And so I think it's a really difficult position to have put the task force in, and I acknowledge that. But I was really hoping that the public process would be leveraged to the letter in order to enable the integrity required to move forward with any kind of review or vote on the matter, which is so important to so many people. Thank you.
Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President. I'm actually pissed off. Many people during forums and during deliberations in front of this council have said that their vote is based on the majority of people in their ward or in the city or whatever. And I don't believe that's what we should be doing. We were elected to represent. This is a representative process, not necessarily a democracy. And if everyone in my ward was against something and I thought it was the right thing to do, I'm going to vote for it. If I get voted out, I get voted out. And, I want to address some things. There was a Globe article, and Justin Whittier wrote that we know what caricatures are. That's very interesting for someone who is not representative of that group. This is the same person who during the deliberations on the land acknowledgement said that the indigenous people were okay being conquered. Donna Sager, who put up a Facebook post that said that she admired and respected Erica Lee so much she couldn't wait to hear her presentation. And after she did her presentation, where she talked about the actual truth of history, and we do not, as a society, recognize the truth of history enough. Look at the Tulsa Massacre, Japanese internments, slavery, etc. We just refuse and resist being truthful about history. And after Erica Lee did her presentation, Donna Sager took that post down. At one point, when we were deliberating about whether we should have a task force, it was brought up, why don't we ask Sumatrans in Salem? Well, one of them lives in my ward, is against, continuing with the city seal. We have a council of one person of color, and next year we'll have another council of one person of color. And, we can advocate for people who are not in our, who are in a different group, but we can't represent them. As far as the task force and the process, I was against the task force. Sometimes we just have to make decisions and do the right thing. And as far as it being rushed, I walked out of the city council about 5 weeks ago, And a couple of counselors asked me about, hey, you want to talk about the city seal? I said no, because I hear about it all the time. And those counselors said to me that their issue wasn't about the rush process. It was about if this gets, if the council changes the city seal, then the masses of Salem will rise up like they did with the sanctuary ordinance, which was the right thing to do, and put it on the ballot. And when you put things on the ballot, you always disadvantage minorities, always. Neil Brennan, I've used this quote so many times, said 2 years ago, when was it okay to have opinions about facts? All people's opinion, all people should be able to express their opinions, but that doesn't make those opinions equally valid. Equivalency makes those who are already disadvantaged more marginalized. And I'm really tired of hearing how Salem is so welcoming, and it is for many, but it's not for everyone. I remember before as a counselor coming to a meeting, and when COVID started, Councilor Madore talking about how prejudice that already existed intensified for her. And it encouraged my wife to get up in front of the council and talk about a time when a number of white men verbally assaulted her when she was in her car outside of the post office. And so many people have said that the only reason we're considering this is because of a few Asians in Salem. And I don't care if there's no Asians in Salem. How many indigenous people are in Salem now? One of the problems we have as a community, as a society in general, is that too many of us are not comfortable sharing a space with someone that we perceive different than us. I watched a lot of the stuff, read some of the report, but I was particularly affected by Erica Lee's presentation because she addressed the facts. And the facts are that this romantic view that we have of our relationship with Sumatra and the trade wasn't that. And that's the history of our society and many societies in Europe and other cultures. Is, and I'm actually like ridiculously going to end on a joke because I was watching The Daily Show and Ronnie Chang was interviewing Sean Sherman, who I had no idea who he is. I guess he's some famous Native American chef called the Sioux Chef, S-I-O-U-X. And Ronnie Chang said, you know, my family doesn't really deal with Thanksgiving. How about you? And he said, a lot of my friends, Sean Sherman said, a lot of my friends and family don't even deal with or acknowledge Thanksgiving. But these people moved us off our land, committed genocide against us, and they liked to talk about when they had dinner with us. And that, you know, they laughed together, but it wasn't funny. And that, to me, is what this is all about. I was friends with V.J. Joyce before. I thought he mistreated people on the task force during meetings, very misogynistic. But when he wrote to the council several times, I reached out to him. And I said, I know you have concerns about the process or whatever. Would you like to meet? Nothing. No response. So I just go back to this thing. It's about doing the right thing. I'm glad the next council is going to consider it, but I do not want this on the ballot, as Councilor Watson-Felt said. When the Sanctuary City thing went to the ballot, when it got watered down and then went to the ballot, we found we had less than 3 days to prove to the Register of Voters that it was fraudulently done. We found that the petitions in many of the stores had Post-its on it, which are illegal, and that there were hundreds of Latinos, people from the immigrant community who were told that this was good for them. But the only way that we could keep that off the ballot was to find enough people who were willing to come in public to the registrar meeting and say that they were fraudulently petitioned to do this. And so it went on the ballot. And it happened with transgender rights for the state. Councilor Merkel worked on that case. And this is really, in my mind, unfair. We didn't need to have a task force. I appreciate all the work that the people did for both sides. I had a 90-minute conversation with Michael Feener and an hour conversation with VJ Joyce when they got onto the task force. I listened to them and hope they listened to me. But really, this is really about our sensitivity to people who believe that they have been adversely affected, oppressed in some way by the city seal. And when I was the recycling coordinator and we went to Waste Management, DPS and myself distributed over 28,000 blue and black bins. And every time I got to a house with the DPS, mobs of people in the neighborhood came running out and they said, "Oh, it's so great that you put the city seal on our trash bin." That never happened. Before, I sent out 2,300 letters, and I never realized what was on the seal until we had the flag raising. It didn't affect me. I didn't care what was on it. It looks like every other seal is just a little thing. And I don't wear the seal in this chamber because of what I heard at that flag raising. And it's up to me, as a person who is not part of that community, to look at other people authentically and say, I appreciate what you're going through, and I'm not going to let it happen again. And I hope that's what the next council does.
Point of clarification, Mr. President, I did not say that I thought that this matter belonged on the ballot, and I want that on the record. I said human rights do not belong on the ballot.
No, I was agreeing with you. I was agreeing with you.
Let's speak when called upon. Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess I'm very uncomfortable with people being named by name who served on this task force or who made comments on Facebook or who wrote letters who cannot defend themselves in this body. They're not members of this body. They can't come in here and take the floor and defend themselves. If we want to reference general comments that happened on the task force, that's fine, but I think that's I think we're going a dangerous place when we do that. If you watch those meetings in March and then you watch those meetings in October, there is a world of difference between those two meetings. And it's unfortunate because I think there's a collegial atmosphere at the beginning of it. I think it was pleasant. I think it was productive. And then I think that the pressures of, but I'll take them at their word, of harassment that they endured is things that no volunteer board should endure. I don't think they signed up for that. I think that, you know, we sign up for that and we get that and we're used to it. They're not, and I think that I don't blame them for sort of fraying a little bit. And I think that, you know, folks did their best under those circumstances, but that's not what they signed up for. I think I'm looking forward to taking this into the council, into the committee of the whole, having a measured conversation about this, because I think there is a rich conversation here that needs to happen. I think some of those comments have been referenced tonight here, but I think there's a lot of thoughts about, you know, what folks were thinking in 1836 versus what we're thinking today. And you know, the history is complicated and complex. But we're still a city that looks out at the rest of the world. You know, there's city seals out there that reference a landmark. You know, the town I grew up in, it's an old wooden fort, and that's the logo of the city. That's the city seal or the town seal. I think it says something that Salem's is not a building. It's not a federal mansion. It's not the Custom House. It is something that's looking out at the rest of the world, and do we still want to be a city that does that? I think there's rich conversations here that we can have about that, and about should a human being ever be on an official city seal. That's a valid conversation I think we need to have. All of that needs to happen in I think in the committee of the whole, and I think I'm looking forward to taking that temperature down and having a productive and measured conversation around that.
Councilor Merkel?
Thank you, President Prosnewski. First of all, I'd like to express my appreciation for the work that was done by the task force. We did not give them an easy task, and there was a lot of work that went into it. I actually appreciated a lot that was included in the report, the conversations that was had, the feedback, and perspectives expressed by people in the meetings. And the establishment of the task force was only part of this process. This is why it's going to committee. There will be a long road for this. There was always going to be. And now it's our job, and one of my many responses in my to my emails today was that we can expect a long process. We have to take a deep dive into how the city seal is used, if we are considering a change, what the process for considering different ideas and renderings, how that would be considered, how we use it, what a changeover would look like, what the rollout would be. Would it be staggered? Would we continue it on everything we currently use it on? This is all going to be the process moving forward, which is why it's going to committee. I don't feel that was all on the task force. That was to come back to us and continue this work. So again, I want to express my appreciation for the task force work on this. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Morcillo.
I just want to say one thing, and that's a comment that Councilor Hapworth made, that people who are volunteers on our boards should not be subjected to harassment and bullying and personal attacks. That's what we sign up for. I didn't sign up for that. I just want to make that clear. I don't think elected officials should be doxxed or bullied to the point of you know, personal stress. I can't even, that's not even the right term. People really need to learn how to have a conversation and without being personally insulting. And I think that it's not a good thing to say that elected officials sign up for that, because we don't. We sign up to do the work, and we don't sign up to be sent personal messages that are insulting. So I just want to say that.
Thank you. Councilor Watson-Feld.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. I just have a question, Madam City Clerk. Do we need to also vote to suspend 29B in order to carry it over into the committee in 2026? Thank you. Is that part of Councilor Varela's motion then? I'd make a motion to suspend 29B to enable Councilor Varela's motion to carry it over into committee in 2026.
Second.
So the first motion on the floor was to accept the report from the Salem City SEAL Task Force and refer the matter to the committee of the whole. So let's take that motion up first. All those in favor? And then the second motion is to suspend it to bring it over. Okay, so the first one is to accept the report and refer the matter to the committee of the whole for next year. All those in favor? All those opposed? That carries. And the easy one is to suspend 29B so that we can carry it over. All those in favor? All those opposed? I agree. We're going to have quite a time with this. Petitions. Moving along.
We have a petition from National Grid to install conduits on Jefferson Ave from 193 Jefferson Ave.
Hearing ordered on January 8th, 2026. Further petitions.
We have petition from National Grid and Verizon to install one jointly owned pole on Lafayette Street, 100 feet southwest of the intersection of Fairview Road.
Hearing ordered January 8th, 2026. Further petitions.
We have one junk dealer license application.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
Councilor Hapworth wishes to refer this to the Committee on Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Further petitions.
We have a list of claims.
Councilor Hapworth.
Mr. President, I move to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
Councilor Hapworth moves to refer this to the Committee on Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs. Under discussion?
No discussion.
All those in favor? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have 2 drain layer applications.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you. I move these be granted.
Councilor Hapworth moves that they be granted. Under discussion?
No discussion.
Seeing no discussion. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have 2 drain layer bonds.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you. I move to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs and return approved.
Councilor Hapworth moves that this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs and returned approved. Under discussion?
No discussion.
All those in favor? Matter carries. Unfinished business.
With the second passage of an ordinance to amend Chapter 24 offenses by adding Section 32 virtual currency kiosk prohibitions.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for adoption for second passage.
Councilor Hapworth moves for adoption, second passage. All those under discussion?
No discussion from me.
Any further discussion? Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prasnewski. I know it's been a long meeting, so I'll be brief. But I just wanted to offer some brief context on the importance of doing this. In 2024, it was estimated that $77 million was taken from Massachusetts residents using these ATMs. The Peabody City Council voted unanimously recently to ban these. Peabody residents reported a loss of over $100,000 in scams. So it's definitely, it's been really just an effective tool to take people's money. And Gloucester passed this ban on these as well. So I'm really happy to see that we moved so quickly on this. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of Councilor Hapworth's move for adoption for second passage? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business.
We have second passage of an ordinance amending Chapter 46, Section 66, relative to water rates to correct the description of the rate for 1,000 cubic feet of water.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for adoption for second passage.
Councilor Hapworth moves for adoption for second passage. Under discussion?
No discussion.
Seeing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business.
We have a second passage of an ordinance amending the Transportation Commission relative to Sections 986 and 987.
Councilor Morcillo.
Thank you, President. I move for adoption for second passage.
Councilor Morcillo moves for second passage. Under discussion?
No discussion.
All those in favor? Matter carries. Further unfinished business.
We have a second passage of an ordinance amending Chapter 40, Section 30, Public Guides Prohibitions.
Councilor Watson-Feld.
Thank you, President Prasnewski. Move for adoption for second passage.
Councilor Watson-Feld moves for second passage. Any discussion?
No discussion, just the public can refer to my comments at the last meeting.
Any further discussion? All those in favor for adoption of second passage? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business.
We have a second passage of an ordinance amending Traffic Chapter 42, Section 50B to repeal handicap parking in front of 44 Orange Street.
Councilor Stott.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for adoption for second passage.
Councilor Stott moves for second passage. Any discussion?
No discussion.
All those in favor? That carries. Unfinished business. Further.
We have second passage of an ordinance amending Traffic Chapter 42, Section 50B, repeal handicap parking in front of 227 North Street.
Councilor Stott.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for adoption for second passage.
Councilor Stott moves for adoption second passage. Under discussion?
No discussion.
Seeing none. All those in favor? So moved. Further unfinished business.
We have a second passage of an ordinance amending Traffic Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap parking in front of number 38 Beaver Street.
Councilor Stott.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for adoption for second passage.
Councilor Stott moves for second passage. Under discussion?
No discussion.
Seeing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business.
We have a second passage of an ordinance amending traffic, Chapter 42, Section 75, resident sticker park in Beach Avenue.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move for adoption for second passage.
Councilor Hapworth moves for second passage. Under discussion?
No discussion.
Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Seeing that this is my last meeting up here, and before I make a motion to have a stool put back here for the next president, because standing up here for hours can be a little bit tiring. I'm glad I did what I did before this job. I kind of got used to it, but believe me, it can be tough on the legs. I'd just like to say that, as I look back on the past year as Council President, I want to begin by thanking my fellow councilors for your time, your commitment, and your dedication to improving the city. We tackled many difficult and often controversial issues, and together we made adjustments, and we made accomplishments. I have a list of all those accomplishments and over here of all the zoning ordinance changes and all the resolutions and everything that we've done, and we've done a lot of good, but I'm not going to get into the minutia because it has been a long night. But while we certainly didn't always agree, I know that each of us approached these challenges with sincere intention of doing what we believed was best for our constituents. I'll be honest, there were moments where issues were contentious, and I personally wasn't proud of where we landed, but even in those moments, I remain grateful for the professionalism, the engagement, and the countless hours that each of you put into your work. It has truly been an honor to serve alongside colleagues who care so deeply about this community, and I genuinely thank you for your efforts, your collaboration, and your unwavering dedication to the people of Salem. To our incoming councilors, I trust that you will recognize that those who served before you had worked tirelessly and often worked far beyond what was required in their efforts to improve this city. I respectfully ask that this dedication serve as your guiding standard. And finally, I cannot forget to personally thank our city clerk and her entire staff for the exceptional work that they did planning and coordinating all of our city council events, and the guidance that you have provided me throughout my tenure. It made a tremendous difference, and I am truly grateful. With that said, Madam Clerk, on behalf of the entire council, I'd like to personally thank you for all that you've done for us this past year. And we have some gifts for our outgoing councilors. In no specific order, Councilor Watson-Felt. Gerslow is not here, but we'll have that for her when she comes back. Councilor Cohen. Councilor Harvey. Councilor Stott. And Councilor Marcello. Thank you. Thank you for all you've done. Councilor Marcello.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I want to start by thanking all the committee chairs and the council president. It's a lot more work than anyone realizes to run committees and to run the council. It's more than just showing up for a meeting. Again, we had a pretty good year. We got a lot of stuff done, and I thank all of you. I also want to take an opportunity to thank not only the city clerks and the clerk's office and, everything that happened this year and people stepping up, and it was great, and thank you. Your work is appreciated. I want to take a minute to also thank the staff in Salem. We have some really great department heads, and I couldn't get half as much information out to residents that I do without the really timely responses that I get back from city staff. And I don't think they get their due enough in the city, and they get as much pushback as we get, sometimes even more, in their jobs, and they just keep showing up at work every day. So that says a lot. I've worked with a lot of pretty great people in this room, but I want to point to the moms in the room. I just don't know how you do it. I seriously do not know how you do it, and we've had several over the past 6 years. I could never think of doing this job 20 years ago when I had kids in school. So kudos to you guys, really. And so I have a little bit of advice for the people that are coming in next year. I have a couple of things. Stay open-minded. I've surprised myself more than once by changing my point of view by listening to others on the council or listening to public comment. Leave the decisions and the politics in the room. I know it's easy to say, but we are all making the best decisions we can in the moment, and you will be too. Work with the city staff. They're there to help you and your constituents. And communicate with residents. They deserve to know how you are thinking about your job. Individuals may not agree with you, but they will understand where you're coming from and how you're thinking and why you voted a certain way, and they will respect you for it. So find your own way of communicating, and I really do think that is an important aspect of this job. So with that, I appreciate all of you guys, and I have something for the president.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't want us to forget of all the folks at SATV who've provided us to the public over there. So they've been the workhorse behind the scenes. So thank you, Adam, and thank you everybody else at SATV who has helped us put our messages out to the public. Councilor Marcello?
Anyone else?
Councilor Stott?
Thank you, President Presnowski. I also want to forward my thanks. I had ChatGPT help me come up with some words for this evening, because that's where I am in life, but I will sum it down because it is late. In summary, sitting in this seat is not about the accolades or the headlines. It's about working with those within the city, whether it's the staff, the administration, to help solve the crises and the challenges that those in the city are facing. And it's been an honor to attempt to do that for the past 6 years with all of you. It's been fun. It's been a ride. I appreciate working together, and I'm proud of what we've accomplished. You know, the list for just this year, we've had a long list for 6 years, and it's been an interesting 6 years. I feel like those that are in the class of 2020, we kind of started with the wild ride, and it's just kind of been riding that wild ride since. Things seem to be calming down, and Salem is a city that continues to want to progress forward and do what's best for the city. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the journey, and I'm looking forward to the new councilors that are going to be joining. I know the Ward 6 is going to be in excellent hands with Katie, and I'm excited to be sending her emails asking for sidewalks on Franklin Street. So all of that said, it's been a great ride, but I definitely wanted to say one last point. This is going to be the hardest word to say, but thank you all for helping me raise my kid. Oh, one more time to embarrass Councillor Stella, right? I had to take the opportunity, but definitely, as a mom, as a single mom, sometimes things can be hard, and in retrospect, perhaps putting myself in the situation did not make things easier. But I'm proud of that, and I am thankful for everything that we accomplished, and I acknowledge the privilege of being able to do that, and to do that on this journey, and I'm hopeful that it was purposeful. I think it was, and I'm looking forward to what's next.
Council Watson-Feld.
Thank you. This is the pattern. I follow these brilliant women before me. I knew that this would be an honor of a lifetime, but I didn't understand that the sway and swing of topics and research and conversations would run the gamut from rats and missed trash pickup to incredibly important ethical imperatives to change people's lives and everything in between. And I took none of the conversations lightly. You know, I think that's part of the work, is to carry integrity into every single engagement, because it's really about, you know, what's big for the person you're talking to in the moment. And so it's been an honor. It is a privilege, and it's hard-earned and well-won, and I'm really proud to have been a part of it. I have to, in addition to thanking everyone in this room, a lot of folks may not know this, but for all of my time on the council, I've secretly, and sometimes not so secretly, talked about all of us as members of a family. You know, we got Mom, we got Papa, we got Uncle Jeff, we got the black sheep down here from Ward 7. We do bring ourselves to this room in a way that feels really familial and personal sometimes. And it is what gets us through the hard stuff. Knowing and trusting that everyone in here is in here in good faith and with good commitment, and here because of something inside of them that pulls them to serve and be in relationship with every single one of our neighbors is really special and unique. And the only way I did it, Patty, as a mom, is because I married a woman. So kudos to all of those we have at home helping to support us and take care of our kids and our houses and our families, and especially for me, where I've been on the road quite a bit. I think, you know, my family also has a single parent like half the year. So we do it because of the people we love. We do it with the people we love, and it's been an honor to serve with you all as colleagues. Thank you.
Councilor Morcillo.
Last call. All right. Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you all.